Hello and welcome to Game Theory. I am your host, Sam Vecenie. Bryce Simon is here with me. It's day 2 of the 2024 NBA draft, and I'm ready. I'm excited. My eyes look broken. I look like I'm dead inside as we go through this on YouTube for the people live. We're 15 minutes ahead of the first pick, it looks like, on day 2. We've had some trades happen already. We'll go through that at the top. But my main question is, Bryce, how are you doing on this fine Thursday?
I'm good. I got up this morning. It was our last day of summer weights with our kids, so that was good. Then I had a radio spot here actually locally, and then I did the Pistons Pulse, which we planned on doing 30, 40 minutes. But since it was Ron Holland at number 5, we ended up going 70 minutes. We pulled a Sam Vecenie and doubled our allotted time. So I'm very nervous that by pick 55, 56, whatever, where my voice is going to be at. But I'm excited. I truly am excited for the second round, Sam. The Pistons have traded up here, so that makes it a little more interesting for me specifically and the people I interact with the most. But there's some real interesting prospects here. And then even as we get to the end of it, who gets drafted, who decides to go undrafted free agency, where do those guys land? So I think this will be a lot of fun.
So let's kind of just start here by resetting who has what picks to start this thing. And then we'll talk about the trades that occurred. And then we'll do best available players. Okay. So Toronto is up at 31. Utah is up at 32. 33 is Milwaukee. 34 is Portland. 35 is San Antonio. 36 Indiana. 37 has been moved to Detroit. Where they have taken on the Wendell Moore money in order to move up 16 spots from number 53. Number 53 will now be owned by Minnesota. And again, this is a deal where all due respect to Wendell Moore, I'm considering this more of a, just the Pistons have taken on salary and they have moved up 16 spots in the second round in order to do so.
Yeah, listen, this isn't a needle mover depending on who falls here, but I mentioned that this is one of those instances where salary cap can be used for more than signing free agents, because this is exactly what Trajan Langdon did. He took advantage of a team that needed to get rid of a couple $1 million. I don't know if this is because of them moving up, for Dillingham last night, and now they needed to save a little, whatever, how close they are to those things, but they took that money on. I don't have any expectations for Wendell Moore Jr., but now maybe they're at 37 and one of these guys that we've talked about falls even a little bit further to them and they move 16 spots in the second round. So I think this makes plenty of sense for Detroit.
Yeah, I agree. So it does. I think this is a perfectly fine deal. I'm not expecting much from Wendell Moore, to be perfectly honest. And I'm just very curious on, what Detroit does here at 37. 37 is a really interesting position. If I'm them, I am probably hoping that somebody like Cam Christie falls to me. But we'll kind of reset that as we go a little bit further on here. The second deal I want to talk about here, and it's actually the most important one that has occurred today, in my opinion, is AJ Griffin is going over to the Houston Rockets for the 44th pick in the 2024 NBA draft. So the Rockets are moving 44 for AJ Griffin. AJ Griffin is a player that a lot of people had excitement about coming out of the NBA or coming out of college. Tremendous shooter, great size. Had a really strong start to his career as a rookie. I think he was averaging right around double figures. And then Atlanta fired Nate McMillan and brought in Quinn Snyder. And from that point forward, Quinn Snyder is not a huge fan of playing rookies. And Quinn Snyder ended up benching AJ Griffin. It seemed like he kind of never really recovered from that whenever he would play. He barely played last year. He only played 160 minutes last year. 170 minutes, I'm sorry. But in that rookie year, 9 points per game as a teenager, shooting 46.5% from the field, 39% from three, 89% from the line. Doesn't do a ton else other than shoot. But this is just a way, way better situation for the Rockets to take a bet on, in my opinion, than the number 44 overall pick. This is just an easy swing.
Yeah, I like this move for the Rockets, and I realize we've talked about how much depth they already have on the wing, but like you said, if it's AJ Griffin or whoever is going to be there at 44, even if whoever ends up getting picked here by the Hawks, we may say, man, we really like this guy. He's got some intrigue, whatever. I still feel like AJ Griffin was definitely a better prospect coming out, and like you said, we've seen him be good. Now there must have been some injury stuff as well because he played 20 games last year with the Hawks and like 6 in the G League. Is that the total G League?
Yeah, look, he dealt with like a couple of ankle injuries that I know of last year at the very least. There was like some soreness in his leg, I guess. This is a guy that, had some leg issues entering the NBA and was a big reason why, if I remember correctly, I think I had him at like 12 or 13 that year. I liked him like right around where they took him. I think they took him at 15.
16.
Yeah, 16. Like it was a fine pick to me. I think that a lot of people thought this was a like crazy, like unbelievable steal when it happened, when in reality, like this is a guy that has had a lot of injury problems, and we'll kind of see what's going on. And I know that he's been pretty clear about like, going through some things, let's go with, on his side. And, this is a good bet. It's it's a fresh start. It's a new environment for him. And I think that it's a real opportunity for him at the very least. And look, at number 44, you're just not going to get a talent swing like this at the very least. We know AJ Griffin can shoot, like just point blank. Like he's always been a great shooter. He's always been able to really knock down shots. And you mentioned yesterday, or you mentioned just a second ago, I'm sorry, about them having a lot of wings. The biggest skill that we talked about them really needing to add to their core yesterday was shooting. They did so with Reed Shepherd. They did so here with AJ Griffin. We'll see what AJ Griffin is. He might not be, some incredible star player. He might not even be a rotation player. We'll find out what can come of him over the course of the next 2 years. But I do think that this is a good swing for the Rockets to take, and the kind of, quote unquote, like distressed asset that more teams should be willing to take on. Like, I'm pretty surprised that, somebody didn't outbid the Atlanta Hawks here. Like, to me, if I was Detroit and I had just acquired the 37th overall pick, I would have tried to trade the 37th overall pick to the to the Atlanta Hawks before the Houston Rockets could trade 44, and I would have tried to get AJ Griffin.
So that's what I kind of was thinking about that whenever we first started talking. Is I wonder how this went with Atlanta, if this is just where it stopped in terms of teams that were willing to give up a second round pick. I will say from Atlanta's perspective, it's hard to swallow that you just drafted this guy 16 2 years ago, and now you're trading him for 44. But, they just added Zachary Rizashea, and so he's going to take some of those minutes. I don't know what they're going to do with Sadiq Bey, who's coming off an injury in his own right. So, yeah, I like this from Houston's perspective. I guess if Atlanta was done with him, quote unquote, or whatever, then I guess you get a second round pick that you can move on to somebody else. But yeah, I like this for Houston.
Agree. So Ethan Almanza is apparently going over to Australia. I just saw someone say in the comments, and I kind of checked it on Twitter there. And, there's some reports out there. It seems maybe coming from Spain. That's kind of been the way it's, seemingly been heading here for a minute. We'll maybe wait to get more official confirmation on that, but we shall see. Okay. Do we have any other deals here? We do.
Davion Mitchell is going to Toronto. Is that right?
We do. That is correct. So Davion Mitchell, Sasha Vezenkov, and I believe the number 45 overall pick are going the way of the Toronto Raptors for Jalen McDaniels. So this is a cap dump deal. Point blank. Sasha Vezenkov has like $6 million left on his deal for this year. Davion Mitchell has like $4 million. I think that Jalen's deal is also like $4 million. This is all about the Kings trying to get below like a tax line of some sort and like trying to figure out ways to be able to add to their roster without like taking on like copious amounts of money. It makes sense to me to go about it this way. I think that Davion Mitchell is like kind of an interesting bet for Toronto, but not really. Honestly, I would imagine this is mostly about the number 45 overall pick going the way of Toronto, while also like a slight bet on Davion Mitchell.
Yeah, and because they took Devin Carter, as people really wanted to remind us on Twitter this morning, the Sacramento Kings had all of these guards or whatever, but they took Devin Carter, and that made some of those guards expendable. And so I'm not surprised that we see Davion Mitchell moved today. So yeah, I think there was that one, and then also 52 changed hands, went to the Thunder from the Warriors for Lindy Waters, I believe.
That is correct. I'm really interested to see what the Thunder do with 52. And Lindy Waters is kind of an interesting player, I guess. But yeah, to me, like what all of these deals say, they're all just like kind of pretty simple, right? It's all about the way that the new CBA is exceptionally punitive on deals that are less than good, let's call them, or less than valuable on the league or across the league. It is really difficult to be over the first apron and over the second apron right now. And I think that we need to figure out a way here, if we're the league during the next CBA negotiation, to make these things less punitive, is where I'm at. Now, the cap is going to rise, and that is going to ultimately help things a little bit more. I think that will generally stop some of this from being as aggressive. But right now, like what we're seeing around the league with like Phoenix having to manage a number of different things and Sacramento having to deal with like their luxury tax issues, Minnesota, having to move Wendell Moore to get off of like crazy money after having taken both Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon last night. Their tax bill, just like by having those players, I think it was literally like, I think it was like $25 million just like luxury tax payments or something like that. Crazy that they would have taken on. It's just like crazy. It's a pretty wild situation to me.
I just saw, do we want to get into the Nuggets news before we get into the actual picks and stuff like that? I know there's a couple little, sorry, awful dad pun here, but there's a couple Nuggets dropped by Shams Charania about Denver.
Yeah. So yeah, we should talk about the Nuggets here. So the Nuggets are another team kind of going through these, first apron, second apron kind of issues, right? Trying to figure out, how much are we willing to engage in the problems created by those limitations on us in the CBA, or do we like avoid them entirely? So what the Nuggets are going to do, according to Shams, is work on a 4-year, $209 million max contract extension this season with Jamal Murray. Okay. Fine. That makes sense. Like it's the most obvious move in the world. We got to do it, right? Yep. Like I think we literally, Jamal Murray, he's one of the 35 best players in the league, 30 best players in the league. He has incredible synergy with Nikola Jokic. Got to do it. The second bit of news, I think, is the more interesting one,
Agreed.
right?
Yes.
Where Shams said that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is declining his $15.4 million player option for the 2024-25 season to become a free agent. Caldwell-Pope, a two-time NBA champion, is expected to receive interest from multiple teams with cap space. Again, like we've talked about Orlando for Malik Monk and a couple of guys like that, Grayson Allen earlier in the year. KCP is a perfect fit in Orlando. If I was them, I would be trying to pay a bunch of money, right? So if you listened to Calvin Booth last night as well, did you see his press conference?
I did not.
Somebody asked him about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He started talking about how good Christian Braun is. Like it didn't say that they don't want KCP back, but it was a very clear moment where like he was connecting the dots. Like, hey, like, we think Christian Braun, you look at any of his net rating numbers, like we're all, we feel good about this. We feel like, Christian Braun is, can enter the starting lineup and it's going to be fine. Okay. Here's the issue with that though. If you're Calvin Booth and Denver and everything, we saw this last year. Christian Braun entered the Bruce Brown role, right? After they lost Bruce Brown to Indiana. The problem was that Peyton Watson was sort of ready for the Christian Braun role. He had moments, but he wasn't as good as Christian Braun was. Now you have Christian Braun entering the KCP role. You have Peyton Watson, who wasn't quite as good as Christian Braun was already, entering the Christian Braun role. And now you have to figure out what in the world you're doing here on this side with the Bruce Brown role that you still never totally actually replaced yet. It just continues to diminish and drop down in terms of like the talent level. So I am a little bit worried and think that the Nuggets are basically going to have to hit on somebody like Derrick Jones Jr., kind of like Dallas did last year, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because, and we've talked about this multiple times now, it doesn't look like they have a lot of confidence in those picks they made 2 drafts ago now, in terms of Jalen Pickett, Hunter Tyson, and Julian Strawther. Like, that would be the answer in some capacity, is if they could get even one of those guys. Like if Strawther was able to come in and fill some sort of role, it wouldn't be the same role, but some sort of role off the bench. So this Nuggets team, in terms of their depth, has some real concerns at this point if KCP leaves. And it's not even as much about whether you explained that perfectly. It's not as much about, can Christian Braun step into the starting lineup and be good? I think people could fairly question that even, but it's really about, okay, you take him out of the second unit, who's coming in to replace? Because right now that second unit is Reggie Jackson still, Peyton Watson, who wasn't trusted in the playoffs, and a rookie Deron Holmes. That's kind of your second unit, right? Am I forgetting somebody with that? I think for the most part,
I'm kind of expecting Deron Holmes is like going to have to really play next year based on all of this. Like just really.
And you would think with them trading up to secure him that maybe they feel that way as well. I think I hit on everybody. So it's got to be Strawther, Pickett, Tyson. Yeah. Justin Holiday. Yeah. What is Justin Holiday?
I think he's a free agent, but
yeah.
Regardless, like it just feels like they're going to have to hit on something like this, and we'll see where it goes. So real quick to the super chats, shout out to, let's see here. We got EB Camp, AJ Griffin as a cap dump is revolting. Really. Yeah. Look, I mean, sometimes you just kind of got to go change. I think this is more change of scenery than a cap dump, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I agree.
Like I think that they're going to move Clint Capella at some point. That'll be a cap dump, but to me, AJ is probably just more change of scenery kind of deal. Shout out to Connor Andrews. Is it crazy conspiratorial to believe the teams might move up in the second to draft Bronny as a negotiation piece against the Lakers? I think, I don't know, man. Like, I haven't gotten a lot of enthusiasm regarding Bronny as a prospect. I think if there was more enthusiasm regarding him as a player, I would believe that that's plausible or even like likely tonight. Like we saw that. Then again, though, like, you know, I remember the Warriors back in, was it 2019, 2020, something like that. They had to move up to take Alan Smailagic because they so blatantly made obvious that they were going to take Smailagic late in the first or late in the second round with their pick because they had him in their G League system all year. And a couple of teams, I guess, like threatened to take Smailagic ahead of them, and they ended up buying like second round picks and like moving up and like having to do all this stuff and maneuvering to get Alan Smailagic in the second round, right? So I guess it's not impossible that, you know, Bronny's a better prospect than Allen was. Like I at least have Bronny ranked. Like I have Bronny at like 75 or whatever. Smailagic, I didn't have in my top 100, and I didn't fathom anybody else having him in their top 100, including the Warriors at the time. So I guess this stuff's possible, but we'll see. Let's talk about some of the best players available, though.
Real quick, can I ask you? And thank you, Connor, for the super chat there. Do you think it's not to actually get LeBron? None of us believe that's happening. It's just to get the Lakers to pay something stupid to go up and like, it'd be Detroit being like, hey, we just traded to 37 to take Bronny. You better trade us 3 future seconds, or else we're going to take him and piss LeBron off, right? Like that's the idea behind this.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, question mark. It would be my answer there. Yeah, like from T, we have your son is mad funny, but I'd rather see Boston take a swing on a big of the future. Yeah, just like literally, I imagined like Brad Stevens in Fenway Park, like holding Bronny like in Fenway, like we have your son Bronny, like we're gonna pay him $600,000 on a 2-way. Like this is the worst case scenario. Okay, let's talk about the best players available.
Yeah.
Best players available right now for me: Kyle Filipowski, Tyler Kolek is available, Tyler Smith is available, Ajay Mitchell is available, Johnny Furphy is available, Jamal Shead, Cam Christie. We've got like Bobi Klintman, Nikola Djurisic, Cam Spencer, Antonio Reeves, Adem Bona, Oso Ighodaro, and John Mogbo. That's my group of players that are the best players around right now.
Yeah, I have a lot of the same names. I would add for me, I like Justin Edwards taking a chance on a guy that was a highly rated recruit that worked himself into a 3-and-D, especially in the second round at some point. And then Melvin Ajinca is another guy. We talked about him recently. Again, just a player now in the second round where I feel like you know what he is going to be. And if you can bring him in and he can just hit a bunch of threes and hone in the defense a little bit, that could provide some value in the second round. So early on here, those are the guys I like. Some guys later, I still like Keyshawn Johnson, Jalen Bridges. You already mentioned Antonio Reeves. My guy, I'm interested to see where Jaylen Wells goes. Enrique Freeman. That will be, you know, some of these guys that, Enrique Freeman was a guy that the combine really was a good thing for him. Trey Alexander is interesting to me. That's a guy we liked early in the year. And then Ulrich Chomche is like, what ends up happening with him? I'm fascinated just to see. I'm not saying I have him as the best available right now. I'm just saying I'm interested to see where a team ends up taking a chance on him.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's right. I'm just like truly intrigued by this entire second round here. This is going to be a really, really fun night, I think. And by night, I mean afternoon your time, and I mean 6:07 a.m. my time, folks. Here we are. We're rolling. We're going for it. So like, look, I see a few people that have asked about the Kyle Filipowski like girlfriend storyline. Yes, Kyle Filipowski has an older girlfriend. It's true. Look, I'm not going to talk about that. Like there are just some things that like I don't think need to be made public when we're talking about prospects, just like point blank, even if it does or doesn't have something to do with like why they fell in the draft, and I'm not saying in this case it does or did or didn't. I just like don't really care. I just truly like don't believe that the Filipowski thing has been, I've known about like this whole thing for a while, and like it's just, to me, it's just has never felt like it needed to be made public. So I'm just not going to really talk a whole lot about it today. Filipowski is a great bet here in the second round, though. I think as a player more than anything, he is a tremendous like skilled big man who can dribble, pass, shoot at 7 foot tall. Like this is an easy decision to me for a team to take him like within the first 3 picks of this thing. And I have him at 16. If that gives you any indication of how I feel about like the whole situation.
Yeah. I have him as my best player available right now as well. I have him in that same range. Shout out everybody that's tuned in right now. We stopped recording last night, Sam, and I told my wife, like, hey, I think we had like 2,000 people at one point, and all of this, like, super cool, super exciting. It's like, I don't know what we're going to have tomorrow. It might be half of that, but you guys have tuned in already. So appreciate you. Hit that like button, hit subscribe so you catch all of the stuff that we're doing, that Sam's doing over here. And yeah, I mean, this is our wheelhouse right here. As I've told people, there was a lot of people doing first round live streams. We are ready for the second round live streams. I'm interested to see if somebody gets picked that I'm not as prepared as I need to be on. I'm waiting. Wasn't there a European player that went last year that I think you knew the name, but maybe it surprised you a little bit.
Tariq Biberovich by
Yes.
the Memphis Grizzlies. I had watched very little Tariq Biberovich. I don't know if we're going to get a Biberovich tonight. I don't. I've kind of asked around. I was ready this year after last year with Biberovich. I've asked a lot of questions of NBA international scouts. I was like, hey, if we got a Biberovich this year, who is it?
Yeah.
And I was not able to get an answer. Keith Smith is asking the important questions here. What would you have done if Paul Skeens was pitching right now?
Who's Paul Skeens?
The number of times I text Bryce about like Paul Skeens,
so annoying.
because he has to go watch his kids like play baseball. I'm just like, Paul Skeens is like the most like unbelievable person in my life. I absolutely would have been watching Paul Skeens right now. Like,
I haven't watched professional baseball a single pitch in 5 years. If you offered me $1 million, I don't think I could name you 10 Major League Baseball players.
Oh my God.
It's sad. We're definitely not. It's so sad. It's bad.
Yeah. We're definitely not doing that. Okay. Let's can
we get some picks? What are we doing?
Yeah, let's get some picks here. So Logan Eby asked, is there a chance Jalen House gets picked? I'm positive he can contribute on a two-way. Look, I didn't rank Jalen House in my top 100. I do think there's a chance he gets picked. He'd have to agree to a two-way ahead of time, I would venture. But, you know, my issue with House is just like the total inefficiency, right? Like 37% from the field, 32% from three, is a 6'1" guard who's like mostly a scoring guard. He definitely improved as a passer and playmaker over the course of his career. But, yeah, I see him a lot more as a scoring guard. I don't love it. I get like I totally get watching him play and like it's cool, but yeah, not a fan. Sorry, Logan.
Yeah, no, that's what it's one of those things where we've talked about this for a while now. There's just only so many small guards that you're gonna want to take a bet on, and right now we have some small guards that are just straight up better than him in Tyler Kolek, in KJ Simpson, in Jamal Shead. And when I say small guards, I'm just talking about height. Some of those guys are built pretty well. Cam Spencer. So if I'm going to bet on a guard here, it's going to be those guys. And those guys are still on the board right now. And not every team, you know, I'm pretty wing heavy here in my second round. I think there's some interesting wings that I'm fascinated to see if NBA teams value in the second round as much as I did. So
I am too. I really am too. I'm hoping that we get some picks here coming up because I really need some picks. Really need some picks, Bryce. Let's get them going. Let's get these picks moving. Here,
I'm not going to call anybody out, but as I scroll Twitter, my timeline is filled with certain comments about people looking for a stream. So go tell your friends that we're live over here and we are breaking down and analyzing these picks and these players in a substantive way. I'm a little worried that maybe a couple European guys that do get picked. I'm very confident that Sam will be able to hold it down if I'm not able to. But I would say 99% of the guys, 95% of the guys that get picked, I have a full scouting report on, even if it's not released to the public. So tell your friends if they're looking for something alternative from what they're using right now, we got them covered for the next couple hours because I see this comment a lot right now.
Yeah. Shout out to Connor Easterday for the super chat. Thanks for all the content this year. Y'all are best. Do you think Nafali Dante gets drafted? This is a good question. I would say it's like 50-50, you know, maybe even like 45-55 that he doesn't, but like real shot to get picked. Undeniably a real shot to get picked. I really like Nafali Dante as a big who can play in ball screens.
Sure.
Particularly on defense. His hand activity defensively as a ball screen big defender is outstanding. The way that he uses his length, he has like a 7'6" wingspan. He really has gotten, I think, much more mobile in terms of stopping people from turning the corner in ball screen coverages. Like, to me, a no-brainer for like a lot of like teams overseas, you know, if he'd be willing to stash, but you know, also like a no-brainer for a two-way to me. For teams like he is one of the few bigs in this class where like I would bet on him as a two-way pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I'm very interested here. I want to ask you about the injuries concerns and if you think they're real, if whatever. But yeah, play finishing big, defensive upside as a disruptor, like you said. I think he could be like a 10 to 15 minute night off the bench big that comes in, just brings energy, athletic, well built, all of that. Did you hear anything about the injury stuff with him coming through it? Is that holding some teams back, or maybe you don't know at all?
I would think that the injury history is like a real question with
Yeah,
Dante. Real question. I haven't like talked. I haven't asked for Dante's like medical stuff from teams, but
sure.
knowing the injury past that he's gone through, I would say I have some concerns that could be an issue for him tonight.
Okay. Yep.
But look, at the end of the day, for me, like, we're talking two-way contracts. Like, if you think a guy can play, you just kind of got to do it.
Yeah.
Right. I think you just like unequivocally have to take the swing and like bet on it and hope it works.
Isn't that the reason for, I mean, that's what you do in the second round. To me, none of these guys are sure things. So it's like this physical specimen, like you said, with the defensive, all of that. Hey, let's take a bet on that guy where maybe the injuries hold up for, even if it's for 3 or 4 years. If you get 3 or 4 years of, I mean, I don't wish this on in Fale, right? I want him to be healthy for 15 years. But as a team, if I get 4 years from him of health free, that's a win. That's a home run in the second round. So why not take that over maybe a guy who's like, oh, if he figures out these 3 skills, then he's going to be, decent, where Dante knows who he is, what he's going to be. And there is a role for that in the regular season for a lot of teams.
So Strayface 23, shout out for the super chat. Do you think Cam Spencer gets picked today, and what team is the best fit for him? I will be taking this question, Bryce, as the foremost Cam Spencer aficionado, currently working in media. I love Cam Spencer. He's one of my favorite players in this class. I would expect he gets picked today. My favorite is Miami at 43. I think Miami makes a ton of sense for him if they decide to keep that pick. Awesome shooter off of movement. They decided to go big in the first round, going to get a guy like Cam who can really knock down shots off of movement. He can hopefully be kind of their next like Duncan Robinson-y swing that they maybe kind of work through. And, talking about a team that like went totally away and like zagged from, the Heat culture past, right, with Khalil Ware in the first round. And I love the fact that they did that because I think it's the absolute best possible fit. I don't know if I love that they did it, but I love it for Khalil Ware that they did it because it's the best possible fit for Khalil Ware to hopefully get the most out of his career. Cam Spencer is like the most competitive human being you will ever be around. It like embodies everything that Heat culture is. So I would love to see Cam Spencer end up selected in this draft. Finally, is there a good fit for the Mavs to move up for? Shout out Grant Ramirez. Thank you. Yeah, like I think if I was them, I would just continue to be looking for like potential shooters who can defend. A name that I really like for them is Jalen Bridges.
Sure.
If they could go get a Jalen Bridges is like a two-way swing or even like a guaranteed deal. The idea there isn't dissimilar from what the Mavs might be losing in Derek Jones this offseason, given that he was on a minimum and they don't have bird rights on him. I would really like Jalen Bridges as a guy for them. That makes sense.
Yeah, I like some of these wings here in the second round. Obviously flawed. Some of them are just very limited overall what they can do. Jalen Bridges is a guy that's really interesting to me. I think he had, shot over 41% from 3 this year did that hold throughout? Yeah, on over 5 attempts. Career was 37%, almost an 80% free throw shooter. Like, I think the shooting is real. He rebounds a little bit. I don't know that the defense is crazy impactful. Where are you at with Jalen Bridges? We can say that he's going to get drafted, but I think he's fine defensively. I don't think he's great defensively, but I'm kind of bought into the jumper. I think he's going to knock down shots. I thought it got better. I thought it got faster, and it got more efficient this season. So I love Jalen Bridges here in the second round for somebody.
I think he makes sense. I think he really, really makes a lot of sense for somebody here at the top of the second round, or not at the top of the second round. I'd say like middle of the second round, to be honest. If somebody took him in the 30s, that wouldn't blow my mind. But yeah, no, like I had him, I think like 50 or so, like something like that. I don't buy the jumper off of movement, and I worry about it a little bit as he tries to transfer that back to the NBA line. But yeah, no, I'm intrigued by Jalen Bridges, at least as a player.
Where are you at on Harrison Ingram? So these are some of the other wings. Harrison Ingram, you've mentioned Nikola Djurisic. Yeah, Harrison Ingram's the one that I don't know that we've said or talked much about. Shot it better this year. I'm intrigued with him because of kind of how his role changed from Stanford to North Carolina. Really rebounds the ball, Sam. Has some passing because of the role he played at Stanford. Where are you at with him?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty interested in Harrison Ingram. I think Harrison Ingram has a chance to be a 3-and-D guy, I would say. I worry a little bit about the athleticism with him as much as anything. Like, is he going to be able to like kind of stick with guys on the defensive side of the court? But yeah, I'm intrigued.
We have a
pick, though, guys. Yeah, we're ready.
Makes a ton of sense to me.
We're ready. This makes a ton of sense. John Mogbo is going to Toronto. So here is the big thing to consider here. John Mogbo and Scotty Barnes are very, very, very good friends.
Okay.
They went, I think, to high school. I don't know if they went to high school together, but they are very close. They're from like West Palm Beach, Florida or so, like in that area, if I remember correctly. And yeah, Mogbo and Scotty Barnes are like very, very close, but I don't mean to just, say that that's the whole reason you take Mogbo here. He's a really interesting player in and of himself, right? 6'6" big man with a 7'2" wingspan, can really, really, really play on offense, in my opinion, out of the short roll. He's an awesome passer. He is a very real ball handler for a big. The way that I kind of compared him is I almost think of him more as like a Montrezl Harrell kind of big that can pass. I think he plays with some speed. I think he can handle the ball a little bit. I think that he can really like kind of do some skilled things for a big. The question is like, what is the position kind of, right? Is he athletic enough to consistently defend at the 4 spot? Is he going to be able to be strong enough to like anchor on the interior and rebound at the 5 spot? I think that there are some chances that he could do either of those things. I think of him more as a 5 that's like a small ball 5 that's super skilled. I think that, the hope is that he can be a Draymond Greeny kind of player. But I think I ended up with him like in the 40s on my board. And honestly, the more that I thought about it, I probably should have had him a little bit higher, like into the 30s pretty clearly. But yeah, no, I like Mogbo here. I like the fit. I love that you take really, really good player here at 31 that also just happens to be like one of your best players, like really close friends.
Yeah, I have him same way. Archetype is like active forward/big. I couldn't really figure out which I truly thought with him, so I kind of gave it the slash of a little bit of both. Play finishes, insane rebounder, right? Almost, if you go back to all the different colleges, but almost 3 offensive rebounds. He averaged over 3 offensive rebounds a game at San Francisco this last year, along with 3.7 assists. So I wonder how often that's happened in college basketball, where a player has averaged over 3 offensive rebounds and over 3 assists per game at any level. So just real interesting player there. Looks like we have another pick. We're going to get things moving forward here. So
we're moving quick. We gotta zoom through on these. I'm starting to recognize, and that's on me more than it's on you.
Gotcha.
Kyle Filipowski here at number 32. I think this is a home run. I had Filipowski at 16. Utah's going to have my favorite draft this year. They take Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, and Kyle Filipowski, all 3 of whom I had in the top 19 of my board. Flip is just such an awesome, dribble pass shoot big, in my opinion, that people are underrating. If you remember correctly, Utah traded away Kelly Olynyk this season, and Kyle Filipowski is now going to be a member of the Utah Jazz and replace a lot of those skills. I got one right in the second round mock I did, Bryce. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. I think this is great value. That you're calling it with Utah. There are 3 of the guys in my top 18. What's interesting to me is it's 3 guys I have between 13 and 18. So I talked about that range of the draft being where I thought there was really good value. Utah got 3 guys in that 6 spot span on my personal big board. So based on where they were drafting, that's really good value. Collier's been a name that's I've probably been asked about most from people. Why did he drop? Probably him and Dalton Connect. Filipowski here. You and I were probably higher on him than most in the public sphere, but a dribble pass shoot big with his size. I think this makes a lot of sense. In the second round, that's a home run. You called it. Utah with a really, really nice draft between those 3 players.
Yeah, I mean, second team All-American this season, if I remember correctly. 16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, positive assist turnover ratio is big. I think he's a better defender than what he gets credit for. Sure. I will just say that. Like, I think that his mobility is just like a little bit better than what he often kind of gets, tagged as. Look, I don't think he's a great rim protector necessarily,
no.
But he's like an active defender who at least tries to contest at the very least. So yeah, like I think he's like a 4 or 5. I think that he can play in certain lineups that are interesting. And, again, like this is a team that just lost Kelly Olynyk. I would imagine that they'll sign, Kyle Filipowski to a 3 or 4 year deal, and they'll be happy with what they've got here for the next few years.
Yeah, it gives them some real interesting versatility. They can put some crazy floor spacing lineups on the court right now, Sam, between Lauri Markkanen and then Taylor Hendricks and then Filipowski. Like you could play, that could be your 3, 4, 5, Keontae George in the backcourt, and however else you want to round that out. Cody Williams, whatever. So that front line though is really where there's some nice floor spacing, and maybe that makes up for some lack of floor spacing other way. Like I like it. This makes a lot of sense at 32. Yeah, I like those 2 picks. Both of those picks so far make a lot of sense to me. Mogbo to the Raptors. That seems like a Raptor-y type player. Filipowski to Utah, just crazy value, and he makes sense on that roster.
Yeah, and look, my guess here is I'm going to end up with Utah as my favorite draft in this class, just point blank. Utah is the team that ended up with just like the best values on my board. They take Isaiah Collier 10 spots below wherever I ended up with him. They take Cody Williams 4 spots below where I ended up with him. Kyle Filipowski, I had him at 16, they get him 32, so they get like 2x the value basically there. They just take shots on talent, right? I love also as well, this is a Utah team that like kind of needed some upside swings, right? To me, like Cody Williams and Isaiah Collier are great upside swings, and Flip should be like, a pretty solid, safer-ish pick as long as the defense allows him to get on the court. And as long as the shot continues to improve. Like he's a solid shooter right now. He made 34.8% from 3 this past season. He needs to be like a very real shooter. Here's the thing. He's 20 years old. He's going to get better as a shooter. Like we're going to be fine here, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I think that type of skill level at his size, one reason I had him so high, Sam, was just the archetype. That's an archetype that I really value because I think in today's NBA, if you can have a real 5-man, a big in general that can space the floor, that's really valuable. I think he can dribble. I think he can pass as well. And I'm with you. I don't think the defense, he's not some sort of rim protector. He's not an anchor of the defense, but I don't think he's going to end up being a crazy negative. So awesome pick here at 32 for sure.
Yeah, this is, to me, he's going to be a rotation player at some point. Like I feel he might be like best as a 3rd big, but I think he'll be like a pretty solid 3rd big in the NBA for a while.
So we have the Bucks up. They went with AJ Johnson last night, kind of took that swing on the younger player, real high upside, twitchy, explosive. Do you see them maybe go a little safer here with the wing? Maybe, you talked about how Doc's not going to play a rookie anyway. So do they take another swing? Do you go Furphy here and just know that he's not going to play, this first year and build it out down the road? Tyler Smith is a guy I think that could make sense for them potentially as a replacement in that trio of bigs they like to play. So those are a couple names that I would be on the lookout for the Bucks here at 33.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Tyler Smith. I mean, that'd be funny. That would go like right into their little look of, yeah, let's just like never have to worry about playing a rookie for Doc Rivers, right?
Yeah.
Look, like if I'm them, I would take Tyler Kolek, but know, I don't know that will be reality here. We will see though. We will see. Look, Tyler Kolek went to Milwaukee. Doc Rivers went to Milwaukee. Obviously, The Bucks are right there. They should know kind of everything that dude's about. The same goes for Oso Ighodaro, by the way, who's actually the guy I mocked there at the end of the day. I'm really interested to see what the Bucks do here at 33. Thanks for everybody that's here, by the way. Hit the like and subscribe if you're watching live over on YouTube. We talk about prospects all year. It's going to be great. Like this I'm ready for 2025. Bryce, are you ready? I've got a list. I'm ready to go.
Yes, I have already started my list. Sorry, I was actually looking at Arthur Kaluma transfer update as we're doing this. So
I love it. There we go. We're diving deep as it is.
I got distracted. The pick is in though, so we can get back to this.
The pick is in. Okay. Who do we got? Let's see here. Who do we got? We have got. Who do you think the pick is, Bryce?
I already saw it, so I can't guess.
Well, tell me.
Oh, I thought you're the host, so I thought you wanted
I'm literally trying to find it. Tell me.
I thought you wanted to be the guy that announced. I didn't want to step on your toes. Like we have roles here, and I have played in a role enough to know to stay in my effing lane and not get out of it. So if I can get out of my lane, I will announce that they selected Tyler Smith.
All right, Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith at 33. Yeah, this just fits perfectly. Like Doc Rivers is never gonna have to worry about playing any of these dudes, so it's all good. Tyler Smith's an interesting player. Like I had Tyler Smith at 25, right? Yeah. Can really shoot it. Like that's the biggest takeaway for me. Like I am a complete believer in Tyler Smith being able to knock down shots from the perimeter. 36% from three this season. Really sweet stroke, like lefty. Takes these shots out of a 1-2 step for the most part. Sometimes gets them off the hop. Shot prep and balance is terrific for a big. Makes pick and pop threes too already. The thing with Tyler Smith this year is that the role was very confined. It was very simple. It was pick and pop, spot up, roll to the rim. Not really a great passer at this point. And defensively, I mean, my goodness, it's a real problem. He's a significant, substantial project on defense. And he's kind of between positions as well. I think Tyler Smith kind of thinks of himself a little bit more as a wing forward type. I think of him more as a forward center type.
Okay.
Basically. And I would like to see him kind of embrace being more of a big in the vein of a Deron Holmes kind of.
Sure.
But Tyler Smith can really shoot the basketball.
Yes.
Whereas Deron, I think, I keep taking shots at Deron and I swear I don't mean to. Deron, I think, it might take a year.
He has to prove it. Listen, there's no bigger fan. But I can be realistic he had 1 year of shooting sample. At the end of the day, he had 1 year of shooting sample. I buy it. I understand people who think that it may take a little bit longer. I think Tyler Smith, you fully buy in his ability to step out and knock down shots. I'm with you. I was going to ask you that question. Is Tyler Smith a 4-man or is he going to be a 5-man? I think he's a little bit of both. I love the value even more if you really think he can play the 5 and do some of those big type of things, play in the dunker spot and finish, pick and roll, catch some lobs and do those, pass out of the short roll and be more than just, I'm going to pick and pop every single time. I would like to be able to see him keep the defense off balance a little bit. And then he's got to find something defensively, Sam, whether it's the defensive rebounding, disruption, weak side rim protector, those type of things. At 33, I love this though. I just want to be clear. He was in the early 20s for me. If they would have taken him at 23, I would have been fine with that pick. I love this right now at 33 for the Bucks. I think this is a great pick whenever it ends up that Doc trusts to put him on the floor.
So here's my main concern with this pick in general. The Bucks draft history is abysmal under John Horst. They have not really had a whole lot of success developing guys. Their best picks are Dante DiVincenzo, who blossomed after he left Milwaukee, and Sam Merrill, probably, who blossomed after he left Milwaukee. Honestly, they haven't really gotten much out of any of these high upside swings that they've taken, right? They've taken Marjon Beauchamp, they've taken Chris Livingston. They they haven't developed anybody after taking them. And I hope that they have a plan for AJ Johnson and Tyler Smith. You can't just take these kids, have like the, underpants gnome meme from South Park where it's like draft selection question mark in terms of the development and then profit. You need to have a plan going into this situation for these kids. And for me, I really worry about them landing here just based off of what we've seen so far from Milwaukee under this regime, which is going into like what it's like 7th year or whatever. So I just to have missed on this many picks worries me a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
I missed the South Park reference. I didn't watch that show.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, like Brandon Katz like brings up the Bucks are also a contending team. They don't give their young players a lot of playing time. That's kind of my point though. Like if you're going to take these like teenagers, they're taking teenagers here, one of whom needs like substantial physical development in AJ Johnson.
Yes. Yeah.
Like there's and like one who needs reps in Tyler Smith. Like you're really just kind of sticking them in the G League and praying that it works. These guys are absolutely not going to play, and maybe they're comfortable doing that, but man, I hope it works for the like kids involved, and they are like literal kids involved here, because they are very, very young. These are both teenagers. So
we have Portland on the clock, right? Portland had an interesting day yesterday, drafting Donovan Clingan at 7. I like that pick in terms of what it opens up for them. We'll see what they do with Ayton. And, like I say, I brought up Duop Reith last night. They made the move for Denny Avdia, where I think they overpaid to an extent with the draft capital, but I love that player. So some interesting names here. I would assume Kolek is number 1 on your board, followed by Furphy. Either of those two really exciting to you, that either of those two make sense for Portland in your mind? Would you like to see that fit with either of them?
Furphy. I would bet that the more I think about this, the more I would bet this is Furphy.
Agreed. Yeah, that would make a ton of sense.
Just makes a ton of sense for them to go with this. They moved.
And Sam, it was the other one.
Oh, is it? It's Tyler Kolek.
Wait.
Did you get got?
No, it is. This is saying New York.
Did they move up maybe?
So maybe. Okay, what are we missing here? Sham's tweet says New York via Portland is selecting Tyler Kolek at number 34.
There we go. Jake, our guy Jake is back. Shout out Jake Fisher. Jake had a not great day yesterday. I hope Jake's doing better today. Portland is trading number 34 pick to New York for 3 second-round picks. Tyler Kolek is the pick here.
Okay, so there we go. All right.
We talked about this a lot yesterday. I've written about this for a while. The Knicks have liked Tyler Kolek for a while. I've kind of gotten that impression from talking to folks around the league that Tyler Kolek has been like somebody that they really, really liked. And it's easy to see why. Like he ticks a lot of he's a Villanova style guard in a lot of ways. Like plays off of 2 feet, great decision maker, great passer, really good shooter off the catch, balanced, controlled, unbelievable footwork, really, really good overall playmaker at the point guard position, crafty as hell. I think the world of, Tyler Kolek, and I think this is like a real tremendous, fantastic pick. I had Kolek at number 21 on my board, averaged 15.3 points, 7.7 rebounds versus only 2.9 turnovers last year, 49.6% from the field, 39 from 3, 85 from the line. His footwork as a finisher on the interior is absolutely outstanding. He's really, really good. I think he finished like well over 60% of his shots at the basket last season, despite I think having 0 dunks. He has great touch around the basket, great floater game. This is why you make the move that you did if you're the Knicks last night to get the 5 second-round picks for Dylan Jones.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
They basically take the guy that I bet they would have taken at 26 and get 2 extra second-round picks for their trouble.
Yeah, because what you said, they sent out 3 to move back up here is what they did?
Yep.
So they net 2, still get Kolek. And then if you're the Blazers, you gave up some second round picks in that trade for Denny Avdia. Now you recoup, some of those in this trade. Kolek still goes to New York. I'll just say for my board, my top 27 players are now off the board here after 34 picks. And these are all the players I had, quote unquote, as first round players. Everybody else I have left is late first round, early second, strong second round picks. All of that now that we finally have Filipowski, Smith, and Kolek off the board in 3 of the first 4 picks of the second round. I love Kolek in New York. He's tough. I think one thing that he can really shoot the ball. He did it over the last 2 seasons, knock down shots. And, so I like this pick for New York. They end up with Kolek, and then their other pick was obviously Pacum Dadier, who is going to be a little bit more of a project, but I think they have time with their wing room right now to bring him along. So nice little draft here for the Knicks, as well as netting those extra second rounders.
Yeah, I think they did super, super well. Let's see here.
I believe we have it. Oh yeah. Pacers are landing Johnny Furphy at number 35. Pacers get in on the draft.
So, okay. So they moved up a spot maybe? Because they were at 36 coming in. Yeah, you guys are gonna have to bear with us a little bit because we're like trying to, parse through all these trades and stuff as well as we go through this. It's going to be a little bit of a process. Shams does have Johnny Furphy at 35 here. So Johnny Furphy, that is now all of my top 29 players off the board officially. My last remaining are Ajay Mitchell and Jamal Shead here at 29 or 30 and 31. What do you like about Johnny Furphy, Bryce?
Yeah, I think there's an athleticism with Johnny Furphy in terms of in transition. He can get out and really run. He's an off the ball wing, really good positional size. I think he's can grow into a dribble pass shoot type of archetype. I think he's going to provide floor spacing as he enters the NBA, catch and shoot. I think he can do some of the other off ball skills like offensive rebounding, timely cuts, all of those things. And I mentioned the transition. I think he can really do that. I think he's got to work out some of the other things. He's got to definitely, make sure the shot is definitely there, 35% on just under 4 attempts. And then the defensive end, Sam, we talked about it all year. It's a real concern. He's got to be able to bend. I think he wants to be a good defender. Like I know I'm not in a player's head, but I just watch what he's trying to do. And it hasn't all clicked on that end of the floor yet. So he definitely has to get better on that end, but there's some real offensive juice with the athleticism, the transition, the shooting.
Yeah. Really interested to see what the Pacers ended up moving to get this pick, given that they had 36. I can't imagine. Maybe they also kept 36 as well here.
They did not.
They didn't. So it's just a move up of 1 spot.
Yeah, because the Spurs took Nunez.
Okay. Damn, missed it by 1. Well, it didn't really, because I had the Spurs taking Nunez in the mock. So where do we see Nunez going 36?
I have Shams.
Shams has Nunez at 36. Okay.
Yes.
So Juan Nunez to me is one of the most fun players in the 2024 NBA draft class. Truly just one of the players I enjoy watching most. He's one of the best passers, one of the most creative minds. I think he averaged 10 points and 5 assists this year for Ulm over in Germany, which is the same team that Pacum Dadier, a first round pick for the Knicks, played for. One of those guys too, whose passing ability almost whose assist numbers actually underrate his passing ability.
Yeah, he's awesome
in some way. He is an incredible ball mover and playmaker, and just is excellent at being able to orchestrate an offense with quick movement. The problem is he's 6'4", which is good, but he was, I think, probably the worst athlete I've ever seen tested at the combine at the point guard position. And he really is not a great shooter at this point. I would imagine, is going to stay overseas for a couple of years. I believe he just signed a deal for Barcelona over in Spain. And I would expect that is kind of where this goes.
Yeah, man, the passing is so much fun, Sam. I mean, it is so much fun. I think I mentioned when we were talking about Topic or something that, I like to talk about Topic being the best passer in the draft and all of that. And Nunez, I always had to give the caveat that Nunez definitely had something to say about that. Just for comparison, those guys shot about the same from 3 this year, but Topic was 88% from the free throw line and Nunez was 61% from the free throw line. So when people go, oh, like, why do you think Topic might shoot, but Nunez may not? Like, that is part of it. Nunez is also 20 years old, just turned 20, while Topic is still 18 until August. So just because I know I just have a vibe that those guys are going to get compared a little bit here. We talked about Nunez, I think, leading up when one of our last ones. Yeah, I love the on ball, especially operating ball screens. I just don't think there's a whole lot of juice athletically. I think he tries defensively. I think he'll get up and be engaged. I just don't know how impactful he can be at his size and athleticism. So it will be interesting if he's able to carve out a role as like a second unit point guard that just a team values eventually coming in and just operating those ball screens and find that right partner for him to work with.
Yeah, our guy Jake is back. I love it. I'm excited.
So I'm
Jake's
sorry.
I
I love Jake. His tweet after the Jared McCain mess up was hilarious. It was
Jake's,
like that. That's all you can do, though. What else are you gonna do?
That's why we were talking about, like, Jake's like a good dude. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, he's awesome. He's just yesterday he had a bit of a time. So yeah, the Pacers sent some money over to the Spurs to be able to move up one spot just to confirm that they would get Furphy.
Second round pick to the. Oh yeah, we talked about the second round picks. You already had that. Jake had that. My bad. So I think we're caught up.
So we're up here at number 37. This is your team. To me, I would be taking Cam Christie here if I'm the Pistons.
Yep.
This just makes a lot of sense to me. We'll see if that's kind of the route that they go.
Yeah, I think that would be the name for me. I like Bobi Klintman more than others. I think I wouldn't hate Bobi Klintman here, but Cam Christie I think makes the most sense. I would like that. Somebody made the comment. We've actually talked about this. You draft Cam Christie and then you give an offer to his brother and see if you can get them both in Detroit next year.
Oh, I'm totally into that. That seems like super fun to me.
Yeah.
Just a heads up as a heads up as well. Well, just saying that 38 might be on the move from the Knicks as well.
Okay. Yep.
So again, like I kind of told people to expect a lot of trades, a lot of movement here at the top of the first. We're going to get some of it. That is definitely happening already. Detroit, we have a pick. We have a selection. And it's this is going to be really fun for you because do you know how so Bobi Klintman's the pick?
Yep.
Bryce.
I like it.
Do you know who Bobi Klintman's agent is?
Oh goodness. Don't even start. No, I don't. Don't say it.
It's Michael Tellem.
I know who it is. I said you didn't have to say it.
It's Arn Tellem's son, Michael. Yeah, so I'm not surprised that this is
stop it.
Yeah. So Bobi Klintman in and of himself, a guy that I had ranked, I think literally 37th. I'm 36th. I'm sorry. What do you like about Bobi Klintman? You just said that you like him as a player.
Yeah, so I think long rangey wing forward. I would say he needs to be more of a forward right now. Versatility, true off the ball offensive player. I think he knows who he is in terms of what he provides. The shooting numbers, I wish they were a little bit better. The free throw percentage was good this last year. The 3-point percentage was a little lower. He had that stretch at the end of his year at Wake Forest where I think he was like over 40% or something crazy. Yeah. Final 11 games of that year, 41% on 4 attempts from 3. I do think he can shoot. And he has an awesome knack for cutting. We talked about this a little bit last night with Ron Holland and Tristan Da Silva. I would put him in the next tier of guys who cut off the ball. I don't know how much he can do with the ball in his hands, maybe attack the closeouts. Defensively, real concerns. What do you think defensively? I always wanted to see a little bit more playmaking from Bobi Klintman for somebody his size.
I always thought
defensive playmaking.
Yeah, like there are 5, there are 5-minute stretches where he looks like he's the best player on the court, like offensively and defensively. And then there are like 15 minutes of a game that he'd play where he was just like kind of invisible. You know what I mean? Like it was just a really, really frustrating kind of deal at times watching him. And that was annoying. But look, this is a really good fit for the Pistons. Like I say everything that I like kind of said at the top, like in jest, this is a really, really good pick. They need a 4-man to be able to come in and shoot. Who knows if Bobi Klintman can be that guy long-term, but certainly, he at least fits the archetype of what they need as a player. I do buy the jumper. I think he will shoot it at a high level. I will also just say Bobi Klintman's like an awesome, fun personality at the very least. Really, really enjoyable, engaging person. And I'm like I really like enjoy him, and I would really be excited to see him hopefully thrive, because he seems like a fun
Wait,
human being.
you have a video breakdown with him, right?
I do. Yeah, he's a great dude.
Okay, so
Great, like fun, like 21-year-old or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna make sure I tweet that out to Pistons fans so they can check that out, because they will be all over this. So
yeah, like to me, this is just like a swing on a 6'9" shooter at the end of the day. It's a little bit funny that there's the Tellem connection, obviously, but like I like this selection here. I think it makes sense.
And the Knicks did make a trade, right? Did I see that correctly? That OKC is going to make this pick at 38. Is that right?
I believe that it's going to be OKC.
Okay.
I don't know who they are selecting though. I kind of mentioned earlier the name I'd been connected with them near the end of the first was Mogbo. So I'll be interested to see what they do here at 38. This is great, Bryce. We're flying here.
Yeah.
We're just like moving. We're moving, baby. Woj is the one who got 38 to the Oklahoma City Thunder, it would seem.
Yeah, that's what last night there it was. So what's interesting to me is I feel like it does come in waves. I've never noticed this when you're just watching, but then when you get live, it feels like there's a flurry, right? At the beginning, we were talking about Mogbo, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Bryce, you need to shut up because Filipowski already got drafted, and then we hit a lull like this where I feel like we just talked about Klintman forever and we still don't have the next pick. So there is kind of these ebbs and flows to it of a live stream that at times it makes it, I don't want to say tough because I have a blast, but it's a little different flow than if you're just doing a regular podcast. It's different. You got to get used to it.
We're just zooming through this thing, baby. We're just rolling along. Going to be done here by like 8:30 in the morning, my time.
My daughter will not be mad at you because I will not miss her baseball game, her final baseball game, to be recording with Sam. I roll. So
she would like fly here and like murder me. Like, it'd be terrible. Yeah.
Also real quick, while we had shout out to my little man. It's his 5th birthday today as well. Royce turned 5 today. So shout out to the little guy.
So all 3 of the kids have our names, right?
Yes. And my wife is an R name. That's why.
Yeah. This is great.
Yep.
I love it. I absolutely love where we're at.
Yep.
The best possible pick here is Jaylen Williams from Auburn, right? For Oklahoma City.
No, it's not.
We'll go full Jaylen with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jaylen Williams, Santa Clara, Jaylen Williams from Arkansas, and now we'll go Jaylen Williams from Auburn. That'd be great.
Who
do we think? Yeah, who do we think makes sense here? Like Ajay Mitchell is like size, dribble pass, shoot stuff. Like that would fit. Let's see here.
I was gonna say I thought Oso would be kind of fun, but he doesn't solve.
Yes. Let's go! I nailed it. Come on,
there you
Ajay
go.
Mitchell. Yeah, I like Ajay Mitchell a lot. This is my last top 30 grade. There we go. They just wholly redeemed themselves, completely redeemed themselves with this one after the Dylan Jones pick yesterday. Let me see if I can figure out how to get this up on the screen. So I like Ajay Mitchell because he's an unbelievable player with footwork, pull-up shooter, both to his right and to his left, really capable of, getting into the lane, using deceleration particularly, excellent out of ball screens. This is a really, really, really excellent, sharp player, in my opinion. I think this is an excellent, excellent move by Oklahoma City to move up and take Ajay Mitchell.
Yeah. So he's a complete on-ball player for you, though, right? Or do you see some?
So no, yes and no. I guess I would say. Shout out to Shams for getting this Ajay Mitchell thing. Yes and no. To me, he can really shoot off the catch. If you look at the percentages, like he was like a 45% shooter off the catch this year. I think that you can play him off the ball and it'll be fine. I like this pick way more than Dylan Jones. Just straight up. I think he's a better player. If you're going like small school players, like this is just, to me, I think here's my hot take. I think Ajay Mitchell is a better passer than Dylan Jones.
Well, so I wasn't asking because of Dylan Jones. I was actually asking because of the other pick that they made yesterday and how you're going to play both of those guys ever.
Yeah, I think you can play both those guys together even because I think AJ can shoot it at the end of the day.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I think you could do that. That'd be okay. Yeah, so people asking why I didn't like the Dylan Jones pick. I just don't think he's athletic enough or scalable enough, or a good enough shooter to be able to play. It's kind of a similar deal to the David Roddy pick to me. Slightly different in that Roddy was more of an off-ball player. But yeah, Mitchell to me is just like shiftier than Dylan Jones. He's a little bit more creative off the bounce, much better shooter. Yeah, like this is just like kind of an easy one for me.
Yeah. So OKC, did we get the terms of that trade? What did OKC give up for that one?
Let's take a look. Let's see what we got. We got Jake. Jake's been giving us the terms here of these deals. Come on, Jake. Where are we at?
I thought I saw somewhere cash, but
let's see. OKC sent number 40 in cash to New York. The Knicks are now up at number 40.
Okay,
did OKC have 40?
40 was. I have Portland at 40.
Okay, so
maybe everything wasn't
somehow
updated.
Flip did like Portland. When did who got the 34th pick from Portland? This is hysterical. Like this is just like horrible radio right now. Watching us try to like parse through all these deals is going to be hysterical for people. Okay, let's see. How did OKC? I have no idea how OKC got 40 at some point. We might get details on that. We'll see. Who's to say? Who's to say? Jake, we need Jake to come through with the details. That's where we're at. We need Jake to come through with the details.
It is tough because we're so for everybody, like we're solely relying on Twitter based on how we're doing this. We don't have, I don't know if they're talking about the trade details on the broadcast, but this is all we have access to is whatever is being tweeted out by people. So we are at the mercy of that.
So from Jake, like an hour ago, shout out Jake Fisher over at Yahoo. OKC has a deal in place to swap this number 52 pick acquired for Lindy Waters from Golden State with Portland for the 40 pick. So I'm guessing that OKC did that, moved up from 40 to 38 and just paid the Knicks to do so because they wanted Ajay Mitchell.
Wait, say that again. How would the 52 and the 40 connected?
So Oklahoma City got 52 from Golden State for Lindy Waters earlier.
Yes. Okay.
Oklahoma City moved up from 52 to 40 with Portland, according to Jake Fisher.
Okay. So this,
and then I'm guessing that they just like cash considerations the Knicks at 38 and said, hey, slide back a couple of spots to 40.
Got you. So the 40 acquisition came earlier. Got it. Okay.
The 40 acquisition came like an hour ago. Okay.
Perfect.
We have another pick at 39.
Yep. There we go.
Jaylen Wells is our pick here at 39. Fascinating story. Fascinating player. Shout out to Shams for that one. Memphis is going to get this. It looks like Jaylen Wells is a player that I like. I'm intrigued by. I think I ended up with him in my top 50. So, right in the tier here to be sure. Unbelievable shooter. Definitely like a really fun trajectory too. He was 5'8" during his freshman year in high school before getting up to 6'2" to start his junior year. Only played varsity basketball for 2 years, took an enormous leap as a senior during like the COVID year, which got him also in the middle of another growth spurt to 6'6", was like the all Metro player of the year in Sacramento. And was like a second team all state selection, but still just like wasn't highly recruited because of the COVID cycle. And, ended up at Sonoma State, won the conference player of the year there, got on at Washington State and knocked down 41.7% of his threes this season, 5 attempts per game in conference play, 42% off the catch. Beautiful mechanics, like absolutely beautiful mechanics. I kind of buy him as like more of a shifty shot creator getting to step backs than what I think other people do.
Okay.
Also made 24 mid-range jumpers off of pull-ups, has like a crossover game that he can use to get there. I worry a little bit about the defense.
Yeah.
And we can kind of talk through that a little bit, maybe more. but I do really like his defensive, or I do like his offensive game as a overall shooter.
Yeah, floor spacing, floor spacing, floor spacing. I think it looks fluid, very compact. You mentioned it. I made it in my notes. He already made a couple off the bounce, one in the mid range, one from the 3-point line. I think the mechanics are super easy to buy into. I also think he has all the necessary off ball relocation and movement, those skills to be in the archetype and role he's going to be in. So he relocates off teammates' drives. He's able to shoot off movement. They used him in some ball screens. I don't know that a bunch came out of that in the games that I watched. I think he's going to give energy on the defensive boards. He averaged almost 5 rebounds a game. I think he's willing to get in the stance defensively. Like, can he be neutral just because of his length? Maybe Sam, and he is a little bit skinny still. So maybe he puts on a little bit of weight as well. He's just still 20 years old. So I think maybe his length gives him a chance to hold up in some capacity on the defensive end.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's not very, he's tall, but not very long,
Sure.
right? Like that's the thing. This is a good swing in the second round to me. It's a solid bet at the end of the day. A little bit older of a guy, a little bit, but also he's like an older guy that is more mature in terms of his frame, but is also like clearly still on a very positive upward trajectory. You know what I mean? Like it's very easy to be positive on where Jaylen Wells is going to go over the course of his career, given that. This is a nice swing for them. I like this. I like this decision to go for it with Jaylen Wells. Just to reset really quickly, who are the best players on Bryson I's board? Jamal Shead at number 31 for me, Cam Christie at number 33, Nikola Djurisic 37, Cam Spencer 38, Antonio Reeves 40, Adem Bona 41, Oso Ighodaro 42. Those are my remaining top players left. Do you have anybody else that you want to throw in there?
Yeah, I'll continue to add Justin Edwards, Melvin Ajinca. I like Keyshawn Johnson a lot. I like KJ Simpson. And then Harrison Ingram and Jalen Bridges would be the guys that I would want to add into it with where we're at right now.
Awesome. Yeah, good names. Good names across the board.
I want to point something out real quick, Sam, and I always reference Austin Reeves. He's not the only guy to do it. There is these factors as we start to get into this range of the second round where some kids may be saying, or the representation may be saying, hey, we'll just go undrafted and we'll go choose the place we want to go to on a two-way if that's all we're getting offered at some of these picks that are coming up. And so if we see some of these names end up sliding, that's always in the cards for what's happening behind the scenes. So I just wanted to reference that as well, that some of these guys maybe, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a pick 47. I'd rather just guarantee where I'm going to go instead.
100%. And like this whole thing is going to be like a negotiation between like taking a two-way, trying to get somebody like Trace Jackson Davis last year dropped down all the way to like the last pick, second to last pick, whatever it was, in order to get a guaranteed deal from the Golden State Warriors, right? And the way that you can threaten that is by saying that he'll just take like a non-guaranteed tender, basically, and then the team, can theoretically lose his rights as soon as training camp or, by the end of next season. So, KJ McDaniels is a guy that did this, and then the Sixers basically had to pay him like a real player pretty quickly after that. So, players have real recourse here to stop teams from selecting them. And, it's a good piece of power in the second round, but we will see.
Knicks traded the pick to the Suns, and the Suns took Oso Ighodaro.
Shout out Shams here. Oso Ighodaro at number 40. Oso is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just to be point blank. Like, I love Oso Ighodaro. He's one of the smartest basketball players like you will find in this second round. IQ is off the charts. He's constantly communicating with his teammates. His synergy with Tyler Kolek and Marquette in ball screens was just absolutely fantastic over the course of his career at Marquette. His synergy with like guys like Cam Jones and dribble handoffs was like absolutely fantastic. I love this pick. This is a fantastic idea for the Phoenix Suns, I think, because getting him in all sorts of actions with guys like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal over the course of the next couple of years, hopefully, will be really valuable. I love his potential as like a rim runner. He plays at speed. I think that's the other thing I want to point out. He's a very versatile defender, and then he also just like plays at speed in a real way. So I love this pick by Phoenix. This makes a lot of sense to me. I know that they've been looking to kind of upgrade their front court, and getting Ryan Dunn and Oso to me is a good way to do that.
So this was to say, I wanted to bring Dunn in here as well, because I think what you did was you added some ground coverage on the defensive end. You added 0 floor spacing. Like there's no 3-point shots between these two guys, but Oso especially has some of that skill on the offensive end to operate DHOs, pass. I think he hits the little floaters. I think he does that really well, but you have real versatility now between these two guys on the defensive end of the floor. They can cover some ground, and you just got to hope with your Phoenix, your stars and Grayson Allen, all that, they provide enough floor spacing that you can have one of these guys coming in off the bench at a time, maybe not together as much, and it's not going to be that big of a worry. So I like Oso. I had him as one of my guys when we did that. This is a great spot for him. I like this pick for the Suns with Oso Ighodaro.
Yeah, and Oso Ighodaro. So just to be clear here, 51 and 56.
51 and 56.
Now go to the Knicks in this thing.
How many trades have the Knicks made in this draft? This is insane.
I'm just like thinking about having to do the team grades thing and trying to parse through everything the Knicks did last year and getting flashbacks to the Boston Celtics last year and trying to figure out everything they did. Not super excited about that. Thanks. Thanks Leon and Brock Aller and all you guys. Jesus. Okay. So, let's see, where do we want to go here? Oso Ighodaro is also from, where is he from in Arizona? He is from Chandler, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah. I think his dad played, basketball maybe at Northern Arizona. And then, went over to Belgium. So yeah, all around like fun stuff here for the Suns to keep Oso Ighodaro in the beautiful state of Arizona.
We have Sixers on the clock, unless there's a trade that we haven't kept up with. I believe at 41, they took Jared McCain yesterday, added some floor spacing. This is a roster we've talked about, Sam, can go a bunch of different ways because there's so many open roster spots as it stands right now. I feel like if you're a guy in the second round, I feel like Philadelphia is a place you want to get to. I feel like you have a real chance to potentially end up on a roster there because of what, we know Daryl Morey likes to star hunt, and they would want to add another third, use their cap space in that way and then fill it out around the margins with minimums and stuff like that. So I think whoever gets picked here should be somewhat excited about like, hey, maybe I can, even make the roster or have a real solid two-way opportunity.
Bob Myers just said on ESPN that Bronny James is telling people that, or Rich Paul is telling people, if you take Bronny James, he's going to Australia. I think they'd be okay with that. Like, I think that like they'd still get his draft rights and like, like it'd just be a stash, but I guess like or like he try and do the guarantee or the non-guarantee tender and like pressure them. Yeah. I don't know. That's very strange to me. It's very strange to me. Okay. Let's shift away from Bronny until he actually gets picked. Okay. Who do we got next? This is the Sixers, like you said. We have got a few different names here that they could look at. Gonna get my big board back up here. If I was them, like I'm trying to take like a real player, like I'm not like just like screwing around or whatever. Like I'm definitely taking Cam Christie if he's like
sure.
Yeah, like if I'm Cam Christie, like I'm excited that I could potentially get on like a fully guaranteed deal. And if I'm the Sixers, I'm like, I get this upside swing on a real shooter at the end of the day. So to me, that makes sense. I mean, Jamal Shead could come in and play for them next year. So that would also make sense to me. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, honestly, go with Cam Spencer too. Let's just do this. Let's lock it in. Let's lock in Jared McCain and Cam Spencer, baby. The other guy that makes a lot of sense for them actually is Adem Bona, is a backup big. I know they have Paul Reed on the roster, but like they have, I think, a non-guaranteed deal with him to where they can open up like even more space and create like a little bit more flexibility if they would want to. And Bona, I think, could actually like free them up to get rid of that money if they would want to, or trade that money elsewhere for something else, maybe a little bit later in the offseason. That's going to be my call. I'm going to say Adem Bona at 41 for the 76ers.
Yeah, I think I would go Cam Christie here. Yeah, like I said, I'm a little higher. Like I've mentioned Edwards and Ajinca a couple different times have we gone through this. Keyshawn Johnson is a guy, if you want to go a little bit older, NBA ready body. Oh, you called it.
God damn it, I'm good at this. Adem Bona, 41 to the 76ers. Let's go. Nailed it. Okay, Adem Bona, 41. Adem Bona, super high motor, super high energy. Really, really active player. From what I was told, like when he went in and like did workouts with teams like loved him. They loved his energy. They loved his effort. They loved the like just vibe he brought to the arena. Like he's a super positive human being, super just like a great dude to have in your room kind of thing, which is kind of why I thought like this makes sense for the Sixers, right? Like you're building out a locker room where you don't have a lot of bodies yet already. And just get this guy in who is going to be like this awesome human being. And it gives you the Paul Reed flexibility as well, which is interesting for me too. Adem Bona, like, by the way, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, very versatile in ball screens. What did you actually like about Adem Bona's game, Bryce?
Yeah, undersized, but extremely energetic and twitchy big. Fill his role well for a team. If that's the archetype you want off the bench, going to be a nightmare for defensive on the offensive boards and just the play finishing upside. I don't know what the skill is otherwise, if he could, develop a little bit of a jump shot, passing, run a DHO, something like that. And then defensively, all of those attributes make for an intriguing defender that with a ton of versatility, disruption. I don't know what the exact ball screen coverage is in terms of like, I don't know. We talked about this. You're a little more comfortable with him just playing straight drop than I think I am, right? Like you think he can hold up in straight drop?
I think he can be okay in that regard. Yeah. Like I would like to play him like more versatile and like more versatile coverages, but like I think he can do it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's where that was my thing. I just always wonder how much teams are going to value the versatility of the ball screen coverage. Certain teams, right? Because some teams, I want a guy that can drop. I think with Adem Bona to get the most out of him, you want him to hard hedge here and there, play at the level here and there. Maybe you switch out every once in a while along with, if they're just going to drop him every time, I don't love that defensive role for Adem Bona. And then we do have a pick at 42, according to Shams, the Charlotte Hornets to select the third Colorado Buffalo from that team, KJ Simpson.
Yep, Shams, KJ Simpson to Charlotte. Any strong thoughts on KJ Simpson? A guy that I had like in the 50s just due to size, but like he can play, man. Like
yes,
I get taking him in the second round, like early and giving him a guaranteed deal. Like he can defend at a high level at the point of attack against ones. He can very much like create his own shot with his speed. He can shoot it. Yeah, like I do understand this in a real way.
Yeah, love the energy on the defensive end. Scrappy, had some playmaking, just gets after it, really competes. I love all of that on the defensive end, but he is undersized. So like you said, probably defending one position. It's a little bit of a Devin Carter shooting statistical profile in terms of third year in college. And all of a sudden there's this massive jump in the 3-point percentage where he was under 28% in his first 2 years of college and on decent volume. It's not like his freshman year, he took a little over 2 years ago, 4.6 attempts, but the free throw percentage is really, really good. Assist to turnover ratio is solid. Okay. He turns it over maybe a little bit more than you would like. What do you think about him? Do you think you can play him on ball? Or I kind of like the idea of him playing off a jumbo initiator who spaces the floor offensively, but then guards the other team's one. Do you think he can do that? Or do you think he has to be able to play on the ball?
I think of him more as an on-ball player personally.
Okay.
Yeah, I think of him more as an on-ball
I bring
player.
that up because of where he landed. I think he fits really well next to a LaMelo Ball where he can play off of LaMelo offensively, but then he can go guard the point guard on the defensive end. So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to think about this. I think you're probably right there, but Huh. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Like trying to think through it. Yeah.
I love the wording between Shams and Woj. Shams just says, Charlotte's picking KJ Simpson at 42, whatever. 2 minutes later, Woj, every one of his second round has been, team is targeting such and such player at their pick. I don't know why that's funny to me. It's just interesting that Woj is always just saying targeting, not that they're selecting or has selected or is picking or whatever. So,
well, the best is, do you remember like, what was that, like 6 or 7 years ago when they tried to like embargo him from leaking the picks?
yeah.
And he would just like, they're locking in on, they're targeting.
Yes, he
they're
just
honing in on.
switched up the phrases. Maybe that's why he's doing it. Maybe I saw some people talking about, let's say, stay off Twitter if you don't want it to get ruined. Just, I mean, I'm sorry. I go whole days without being on Twitter whenever I record a Chiefs game and I don't want to know the results. I just put my phone and lock it away and I stay off Twitter so I know. So, but
yeah, no question.
Or
no
mute.
question.
There's a great mute button. Like I have I can't tell you. I'm embarrassed how many accounts I have muted. Just mute them for a couple hours.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't mute. The mute button is very valuable to me. The mute button is very valuable. I think I saw, let's see here. Do we have anybody? No, we don't have anybody yet. Favorite pick of the second round so far for you?
Let's see. Let me look through it here for Raptor, Jaylen Wells.
I'll say mine.
I like Oso at 40. Okay.
Yeah, Oso at 40 is good. Filipowski is a good name too. Oso, makes sense for Phoenix. I think he will play next year for Phoenix is where I'm at.
I like the Tyler Smith one. I like the Knicks back in with Tyler Kolek at 34. I mean, it's really easy to say these guys I had as first round picks that ended up in the second round taking. I'll tell you this, I'll be a homer here. I like the Bobi Klintman pick for the Pistons. I do at 37. I think that's a nice selection for them. I like this most recent one. I like KJ Simpson. I think I was higher on Simpson than you. I had him 40 on my board, Sam. So at 42, I like this value and I like the way he fits there with them. So yeah, those outside of the obvious ones, I kind of like Klintman at 37. I like KJ Simpson at 42 right now.
I did just kind of like recognize like back to back, right? Phoenix takes Oso and then Philly takes Bona, right? Do you have a take on those two like switching spots maybe? Like I wonder if Adem Bona is like a little bit more ready to play for a Phoenix team that has aspirations on winning a title, but I guess so does Philly too. So maybe not. Maybe it's fine. Yeah. It's interesting that like those two will be interesting to track career wise now because
going 2 spots apart.
like 2 spots apart. Yeah. I'm going to say Cam Spencer here at Miami, by the way. That's my take. I don't know who it's going to be.
Listen, I know I've been telling all of you guys to if Cam Spencer goes here to Miami, you guys should mute Sam Vecenie for about 3 minutes because this is going to be insufferable.
Yeah, it probably will be. That's true. I'll go for it. I don't think it will be.
No.
But, like that's a pure guess. Like that's not me. Okay, so 43 43 Nikola Djurisic here.
Okay.
But that's going to Atlanta.
So the Hawks made a move to 43, take Nikola Djurisic.
They moved up 1 spot to take Djurisic. So I wonder if they needed, or if they felt like,
somebody else
needed to avoid Miami, because Miami, has proven they have a pretty strong draft, scouting department over in Europe and particularly in Serbia, having drafted Nikola Jovic a couple years ago. Maybe they felt like they needed to just get that pick from Miami, and Miami was like, well, we have a bunch of guys in this tier. We'll just take the money. Yeah. What do you think of Djurisic? Let's start there.
Yeah. Interesting player. I was watching him all the way back to last season. Because I think he's a good passer for his role and archetype. I know he got to do a lot more even with the ball in his hands after Topic left. I don't know that that's what he's going to do in the NBA, of course. The 3-point shoot, where are you at with the shooting? Because I think that's where I always got hung up a little bit with that. He ended up at 31% this season from 3, even worse last season. I think he has to shoot it, right, for him to stick, or is some of the on-ball passing stuff enough to balance that?
Yeah, this is why I was always a little bit lower on Jurisic. Like I saw people like rank him in the first round, and I just never really understood it.
Yeah.
He's never really had a game that scales to playing off the ball, and he's not
Yeah.
quite good enough to be like an NBA like on-ball player right now.
Yeah.
He has to shoot it. Like that's the whole thing. Like he absolutely has to shoot it in order to be a successful NBA player. Now, can he do that? I think the shot looks like somewhat projectable, to be honest with you. Like every time I see him shoot, I'm like, okay, it's flat, but like I think that it like he's confident. He takes it, with real like he thinks it's going to go in. You know what I mean? So I think there is some projectability here. I think there's some real potential that he can be the kind of like off-ball creator, secondary playmaker. I think he's like more of a guard than a wing, to be honest, when I watch him. But yeah, like I'm intrigued by Jurisic and his game. I'm going to pull up the scout while, we talk about this here.
I mean, I agree with the shot. He gets a crazy amount of elevation. The numbers never backed up. I always thought it looked good. The numbers just never backed up what I thought that it should be. And then I don't know what the defensive impact is going to be. I don't love some of the habits in the foundation. I think he has good awareness when he's locked in. I didn't always love the intensity he played with. I didn't get a great handle on what he was, and then is that the role and the archetype he's going to play in the NBA? I think the biggest thing I'd come away from his games is, man, he passes the ball really well for his size, but how much does that end up mattering for the role he's going to play in?
Oh, that's a shame. Wrong white guy for Miami. They take Pelle Larsson. Here, no, not Cam Spencer, but honestly, like this, it makes sense for Miami to go Pelle Larsson as well. Same kind of vibe, right? Like real guy who can come in and knock down shots, moves really well without the ball. A little bit, much more athletic, frankly, than what Cam Spencer is. To me, not quite as good of a defender, but certainly athletic, certainly has real vertical pop as well, which is interesting to me. The thing that always frustrated me with Pelle Larsson was I felt like he didn't play to his athleticism. And I also felt like I didn't love the ball handling ability. I think he can really pass. Like he's a really quick decision maker and just seems to read the offense really, really well. But, in terms of like actually being able to handle the ball and like make plays, I felt like he was a little bit less impactful overall.
Yeah, I see him as just like a pretty quality level. I think at everything, finish my sentence there. And then the shooting just kind of has to be the superpower. That has to be what he does at a super high level. Career almost 40% 3-point shooter. He was 43% this last year on 3 attempts. I think the passing is just, ball movement, does so without making mistakes, those type of things. He did average 3.7 assists, I guess 2 turnovers, so a few more mistakes.
He can really pass. Like he all his passes tend to be like takes like a dribble, strings out a ball handler or strings out the ball screen a little bit and like makes a quick read, right? Like he'll reverse the ball, like he'll maybe get it to like the shake guy coming up. Like it's not getting downhill pressure, but like he makes quick decisions, I feel like. It's actually like a pretty good upside swing for Miami, I think. I get why they would be interested in going for Pelle Larsson.
So that was, what pick was that? That was 44.
That's 44. So we're almost halfway through here.
So we're at 40.
A little bit longer than what I thought it would, by the way.
We're at 45, and this is Toronto, the last we knew, because
I believe that's accurate.
This is the Davion Mitchell trade, right?
Believe that is accurate. Draft picks and who owns them at this point are a construct of our imagination, but we just need to kind of hope that we get some of these things correct as we're talking about them. If we get like, if we get like 30% right in terms of who's getting these guys, I feel like we're doing pretty well.
Hey, one thing I learned from the Mikal Bridges trade was people are willing to give us a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I had a lot of people say that they were willing to bear with us as we filtered through that whole debacle of those two, just the 2 trades, I guess, that happened.
just trying to figure it all out. We're trying to figure it all out together. We're all in this together as we figure this out. Okay, so this is going to be Toronto. Who do I think I don't know who they're going to take here. I mean, again, so my best players left are Jamal Shead and Cam Christie. I think, them and Cam Spencer might be my last 3 players available in my top 40. All my top 30 are gone. Antonio Reeves is available too. I mean, we're closing in for sure. We're definitely closing in on a point where, there's not like a ton of guys that I feel like absolutely unequivocally need to get drafted here.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I think I have I have 3 in my top 38, 4 of my top 40 left. And then there's a little bit of gap after that. So, about to close out another tier once a few more guys go off the board.
Yeah. So like in terms of tiers here, like the only guys I have left in that tier that is, guaranteed contracts are Shead and Christie, I believe. And Spencer too. But yeah. So yeah, we're really closing in here. Let's see here. 45. Do we got it yet?
I've not seen anything.
We need to get 45. Come on. By the way, while we're talking about this, have you seen the party that Zach Edey threw instead of going to the green room?
I saw you quote tweet it. I didn't click on it and watch it, but
absolutely what I would do if I was in his shoes. And I know I'm getting drafted on the first day. Just go throw a party with your best friends. That's everything that it's about to me. Go throw a party with your best friends. Have the best time. Don't worry about all of the everything that goes into the green room. Zach Edey's going to have had such a good experience. I feel like having gone through that.
No, I listen, if I was ever in that situation, I would have done the same thing. And part of it for me is it would have been hard to narrow down who I brought with me to the green room because there's so many people that impact you on your path through this, and you can't let them all sit down there with you. But I would much rather be sitting wherever with all of those people, enjoying it, having fun, laughing, as opposed to this green room where I can only have 6 of them or whatever it is. And then you have all these other players who I'm sure you're friends with some of them, but some of them you don't even know. I mean, this is a huge accomplishment. Let's also talk about this is a huge accomplishment for all of these kids. Regardless of how we analyze and break down and whatever, everybody that got drafted last night, getting drafted today, guys that sign summer league stuff, whatever, this is a huge accomplishment for all of these kids. And I mean, obviously celebrate it how you want, but for me, I would love to just be around my entirety family and the people that helped me on my path to get to that spot. So yeah, Zach Edey doing it right for my opinion. Here we go.
100% doing it right.
Oh, 2 picks.
We got 2 picks, baby.
They screwed us on this one.
They're 2 big ones. They're 2 big ones, folks.
This is messed up.
Toronto going Jamal Shead. First and foremost, we're going to start there. Jamal Shead is one of my favorites in this draft class, just point blank. I think his defensive tape, I don't think he's the highest upside defensive guard I've ever evaluated, but I think his defensive tape is better than any defensive tape that I've ever evaluated at the college level for the guard position, the lead guard, point guard position. He is unbelievable on that end. One of the most disruptive guards I've ever evaluated, communicates with his teammates incredibly well. Quickness enables him to stay in front of just about anybody. He's tenacious and downright mean. Second and third efforts, gives fourth and fifth efforts on some plays, navigates screens as well as any guard I've ever seen at that age. 2.2 steals per game. Keeps his body in front, but is strong enough through his chest to where he can cut off drives from guys off the ball. He's this amazing disruptor. He flies around covering an immense amount of ground. Great cat and mouse instincts, helping from the opposite side of the court. Plays 1-on-2 situations on the weak side incredibly well. Anticipates plays at an exceptionally high level. Jumps passing lanes faster than any guard I've ever seen. Effective as the low man because of his size, would beat opposing drivers and rollers to the ball, elite at closing out onto shooters. That's where he ends up blocking half of a shot per game at 6 foot tall. Look, there are questions here. I'm not going to deny it. There are absolutely questions on offense. He is unbelievable on defense.
Yeah. No, okay. I didn't know if you were going to keep going. I know Jamal Shead is one of your guys. Yeah, you said it all defensively. I think what is the offensive role and value? I felt like he may be a guy that can he just pressure the rim, get the ball where it needs to go? Can he get into the paint? Can he score enough to make teams respect him? Maybe really get the floater game going and then dish it out from there and be good, just to be a real good defense or rim pressure along with the defensive value he has. Like, does he get there shooting wise? The free throw percentage this last season wasn't bad at all for a career, 77%. The overall 3-point percentage wasn't great. So I don't know if he does that, but yeah, I mean, this is an interesting bet in terms of middle of the second round. You get a guy that does one thing at, an elite level as a prospect.
Truly, yeah. And for a guard, he is an elite player as a guard.
And so then is he able to figure something out on the offensive end to balance that out? And I think this is a really nice spot to take a bet on that.
I think so too. This is where he should go.
Sure.
I think that's something like this.
I had him 45 on my board and he went 45. So
yeah. I had him 31. I would have taken him higher, but like at the end of the day, I just love the defense that much. Offensively, the hope here is like he can be like a TJ McConnell who's driving to the lane, trying to finish at the basket. Hopefully can develop like a mid-range game. Like that might be the next thing. And he can really pass. Like that's the thing. Like he is a real touch passer. He can throw velocity on the ball. Like if he needs to hit kickouts. I am a big Jamal Shead fan.
I was gonna throw out the TJ McConnell name in terms of the offensive, and we saw McConnell be really effective with it this season, especially even into playoffs, just continuing to attack into the paint. And so the floater game, I think, is something he has to be really efficient with. I think that really has to come around, or the mid-range pull-up, as you said. So yeah, and then you get the defense and you have a real backup point guard there.
Okay. Number 46, Cam Christie is the pick for the Los Angeles Clippers. So bit of a fall for Cam Christie. I do wonder if they kind of engineered this a little bit, if only because I would imagine the Clippers are going to roster that.
That's what I say. Don't you think he gets rostered, or there's a chance he gets rostered?
I'm assuming he does. Like, I don't know this. This is speculative. Like, I'm not sitting here saying like he has a contract in place.
Yeah.
Don't like aggregate this, but like just given what their contract situation is and what their roster looks like, I'm kind of guessing that he does get a deal here from them. Cam Christie, I had at number 33 overall on my board. So just a couple of spots beneath Shead. Shooting is the skill here. 39% from three. Does so like out of a variety of different actions. Hits both pull-ups and catch and shoot looks. Off the catch, beautiful mechanics. Great shot prep, strong base. Really gets his feet gathered up underneath him well for a teenager, I think, and gets that balance, finds that rhythm. Creates angles for passers after relocating, sharp at moving off the ball, and just a versatile shooter. 36% out of spot ups, 38% on his transition threes, 43% out of threes from handoffs. 4 of his 6 threes were makes off of screens. Just should be a high level shooter in the NBA. I thought he made some strides as a passer, 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio, 2 assists per game. I thought he was really bad on defense was my issue. Everyone I talked to about him says he is like an extremely high level competitor, like a very, very, very high level, like competitive dude who wants to like be an impact guy that like wins games. I thought that he just will be like one of the worst defenders in the league early on in his career. Wasn't very active off the ball, fly-by closeouts, balanced athlete, but just didn't get under control enough. Sagged too deeply into the lane too often. Just felt like everything, the gears were turning too quick. Then on the ball, you just see a lack of strength. What is your feeling on Cam Christie?
Yeah, I thought the on-ball defense was exactly what you said. I didn't like it. I was a little bit more intrigued by some of the off-ball defense. I don't think it was good. I thought it had been decent at times. Saw him make a couple rotations, stunt and recover in a couple rotations. And, at times you could see him engaged, pointing, communicating. So I'm with you wholeheartedly on the ball. I had a little bit more hope off the ball. Offensively, what I want to ask you is how much do you think you can do with the ball in his hands? Because I buy the floor spacing, the shooting, all of that. There was, he was starting possessions with the ball in his hands. He would run ball screens, gel the defender, do some of those things. Do you think he does anything with the ball in his hands, or is any of that just coming off attacking closeouts as a true, just exclusively off the ball player? I mean, not even for the Clippers specifically. What did you think when you evaluated him?
I think I would bet more attacking closeouts and maybe getting to a point, but I don't think that he'll really, I would be a little bit surprised if he ends up being like a real creator, just given his tools athletically.
Got you. We have another pick. So this was Orlando at 47. They moved that to the Pelicans for 2 future pick swaps down in the 2030s. And the Pelicans take Antonio Reeves.
I'm assuming those are second round pick swaps.
I would. It does not specify from Woj, but yeah.
Let's hope they're second round pick swaps. Antonio Reeves, my second to last top 40 guy remaining. I really like Antonio Reeves, and I like this fit a lot. I really like this fit a lot with the Pelicans because they need somebody who can come in and shoot the basketball. Antonio Reeves is a great shooter. He's not just like a good shooter. He is a real knockdown shooter. He hit 44.7% of his 3-pointers this year, 6 attempts per game. Guy that was at the top of scouting reports for Kentucky this year. He was the guy that opposing teams in the SEC were trying to stop. And at the end of the day, he was awesome as a scorer. I also think that he is a real threat, coming off of curls and getting into the lane and scoring around the basket. He has an awesome little floater game. The thing I like about Antonio Reeves is that he has counters more than anything else. He's not just a shooter. If you give him the ball, he's going to be able to catch, pump fake, attack the basket, get into a floater game, or he's going to be able to just shoot and fire. I really, really like this pick. I think this is a smart pick from the Pelicans. You don't want to overreact to 47th overall picks, but he is a very, very real shooter and scorer.
Yeah, bucket getting, off ball scorer. So you feel 2 levels for sure. He obviously from the 3-point line.
2 levels, I would say.
Yeah, and then get to so that was my question. How many levels can he actually score at? That's where I'm at as well. He is going to be 24 in November, so an older prospect. He does seem a little bit slight, just especially for his age in terms of filling out his frame. And then how is he going to be able to hold up defensively? But yeah, I mean, again, we're in the second round, middle of the second round. These guys are going to have flaws on one end of the court usually. And on the offensive end, this is a guy that can really get buckets. As you mentioned, he was 43 on my board. So this is great value. It makes a ton of sense for me as well.
Yep. So to reset here as we wait, let's see here. Nobody remaining in my top 38. Cam Spencer at 39. Trey Alexander 44. PJ Hall 45. Tristen Newton 46. Quinten Post 48. It looks like are my only top 50 players remaining on the board. Man, if we get Cam Spencer drafted here soon, this board's going to look pretty sweet, to be honest with you.
I'm pretty proud of where I'm at. The first year I've really done it to this extent. So I still have Justin Edwards, Melvin Ajinca, Keyshawn Johnson, Harrison Ingram, Jalen Bridges. And then I get to some of the guys you mentioned, PJ Hall, Quinten Post, Cam Spencer on my board as well. So I tried, I found a lot of wings to put into my second round tier here. I think the 2 guys I'm going to end up being too high on compared to what it looks like the NBA was are Justin Edwards and Melvin Ajinca. But again, I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that. So I like where this has ended up.
Yeah, I wanted to like Ajinca so much. Yeah. I'm kind of guessing he goes here for what it's worth if the Spurs keep this pick. I'm kind of guessing why they haven't picked yet is because they might be trying to see if they can move it or not. But if not, I would kind of guess that they just draft and stash the French guy here, right? Like that would line up. But also like a French guy who can potentially really shoot it down the road next to Victor Wembanyama. I'm interested to see what the Spurs do here. They have a few different potential options, it feels like.
Yep.
Man,
so we
are zooming through now. We got those 3 picks coming was big. We kind of made up for some time.
I think we have 11 picks left here with San Antonio. Obviously, there's only going to be 58 picks. Most people know this. There was a couple that were forfeited. So we're getting down to our final 10. That Golden State pick had gotten moved at 52. When we get down to there, we'll get a pick from Dallas to finish this thing off. We haven't heard from them so far. We'll get Boston back in the mix. A couple Pacers picks as it stands right now. So see what San Antonio does, and then we can keep things moving. San Antonio takes one of the guys I just mentioned, Harrison Ingram.
Yep, Harrison Ingram. So we talked a little bit about Harrison Ingram earlier, I guess. Ingram is the guy that I have ranked. Where do I have Harrison? 54 on my board, so completely reasonable to take him here, I think. I actually liked him as a passer a lot at Stanford. Let's kind of start there. 6'5" with a 7-foot wingspan, so incredibly long. Made some very real like mechanical adjustments to his jumper. I thought takes a set shot now as opposed to like kind of having like a bit more of a jumper when he was at Stanford. Feels like he moved his offhand a little bit slightly, so it comes out cleaner. So like when you see the big jump going from 31% his first 2 years at Stanford to 38.5% this year at North Carolina, I think that is accompanied by real mechanical tweaks as opposed to just like a small sample theater. You know what I mean? Really improved defensively this season. Active off the ball on defense, hands into passing lanes, disrupts the handles of opposing players, always gets back in transition, really tries to make his presence felt as a defender, communicates really well. I thought he's reliable whenever he could really body up to somebody and like really just like be physical. We've lost Bryce, I see now, but we're good now. He's back. Really can body up and like be strong. I thought he dealt really well with guys like Blake Hinson at Pitt, or I'm trying to think like of another example. Like Hinson was the tape that like really stands out in my mind because like Hinson really tries to like bump you and like mess with you a little bit. And he's like really capable of just dealing with those. He has like a concerning lack of explosiveness.
Yeah.
Is the worry here.
No, 100%. I think what I kind of like is we talk about changing archetypes and roles, and he did this while in college, going from Stanford to North Carolina, where he played a little bit more on the ball at Stanford, and then he goes to UNC and he transitions to this true like off-ball wing. And you mentioned the three-point shooting improvement, which I think was huge for him. The free throw percentage is still a little bit concerning. He also rebounds the heck out of the ball, Sam. Almost 3 offensive rebounds a game for Harrison Ingram. So he did some of the true off-ball stuff that you want to see from a guy that's transitioning into that role. And then the passing and playmaking becomes a major plus. Like if he was an on-ball, what happened?
I'm confused.
Okay.
Denver is trading Reggie Jackson to Charlotte for 3 unprotected second-round picks. What is Charlotte doing? What? Are they getting something else? Maybe they're getting something else. I'm confused. I'm very confused. Bryce is malfunctioned, I think.
No, I'm not malfunctioned. I'm froze. Or like I was literally not moving, so it probably looked like I was froze. I'm trying to. So this is Denver trying to get off Reggie Jackson's money?
Well, that would make more sense. Like if Denver is like moving Reggie Jackson and attaching a second-round pick or something.
But
like
that's not what the value of this would say, right? This is saying that Charlotte is actually giving up real. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's. Oh no, Denver is trade. Here we go. We got Woj. Here we go. Denver is trading Reggie Jackson to Charlotte with 3 unprotected second-round picks. I was like, what in the world? That's still that's a bad deal by Denver for what it's worth. Like, that's too many second-round picks unprotected to be giving up whenever you have a limited number of picks that you can actually like mess with. But I mean, whatever, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Huh.
They needed to get off that money. Like, it's going to save them a crazy amount of money, I think, to do that. Okay.
You got a pick.
Back to the draft. Tristen Newton, number 49 to the Indiana Pacers. I liked Tristen Newton way more than other people did. Like, I thought he was like really impactful. Obviously was the most outstanding player at the Final Four. But the thing about Tristen Newton that I like is he kind of does everything at a average level to me. He is a solid shooter. He's not a great shooter, but like he is a solid shooter. He is a solid driver. He's great at drawing fouls. Like, I don't know if that'll totally translate, but we'll see. I think he is a solid passer and playmaker. It's a very weird skill set where like he was kind of the guy that like in that offense that did such a great job of creating so many like open looks all the time. If it got late in the shot clock, he was like the only guy that like they really trusted to be able to go and like get a shot late. And he wasn't amazing at it, but he was okay at it. And he won't be asked to do that all that often in the NBA. I wonder if like putting him into a different role maybe helps the jumper a little bit more. I don't know. Like I'm a big Tristen Newton like fan as a two-way player. Like I wouldn't give him like a guaranteed deal, but as a two-way guy, I like the bet.
Yeah, I thought he was a big shot maker this last season. Just multiple of them. Seems like end of shot clocks, those type of things. Seems like he's never sped up, and then he changes speeds well. The more I watched, it was just like, hey, this is kind of an NBA guard. I wonder a little bit about the separation he's able to create. I like his length, but how twitchy and explosive. He is skinny. And then on the defensive end, how much is he going to be able to hold up on that end of the floor? This is another guy who already at 23 years old, I don't think the frame is extremely well built out. So how much is he going to be able to do that? I don't know, but at this point, I'm cool with it. For Indiana, it's an interesting, maybe he can get up and go and play that fast style that they like to play.
Yeah, no, I think that this is a really, really interesting selection. This is a two-way, I would imagine. And I think that there's just like a really, really good way to kind of bet on him as a two-way player. That's just like kind of makes sense to me. The other thing I'll say too, like you talked to the Connecticut staff about him, what they liked most is his heart rate just like never rises like in the moment, right? Like he can be at the Final Four the last 2 years, or he can be like in practice or like in your backyard, and he's just like steady. There's no like real change there in terms of who he is in those big moments. And you kind of see that with him, winning most outstanding player at the Final Four, right? Like making big shot after big shot. It just kind of is, who he is. He's like that kind of guy who is relaxed in those moments. And, if you're going to bet on somebody, why not bet on one of those guys?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at other guards. Like if they wanted to go just strictly with a guard, Cam Spencer and Trey Alexander would be other names maybe here. Reese Beekman, I don't have any problem with going, Tristen Newton over those guys at all. So,
yep. Yeah. And I mean, look, like if this Denver deal helps them retain
KCP,
KCP, great. You know what I mean? Like that'd be big, right? Like I'm all for that. But here's one thing Calvin Booth said last night is like KCP is an unrestricted free agent. They don't have the capability to keep him if KCP doesn't want to return.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
And the other thing, like we just talked about the depth of this team, and I mentioned Reggie Jackson whenever we were going through that. So that means, again, Strawther, Pickett, somebody's going to have to step up and take some, like you have to replace Reggie Jackson minutes and production, because what did he play for them last year? Let me pull that up real fast here. Reggie Jackson played in 82 games and played 20 minutes a night for the Nuggets last season. So
yeah,
that's real time that you have to replace.
So Keith Smith has the numbers. Shout out to Keith Smith.
Keith is awesome.
Icon.
Yep.
Just out here helping us with the math stuff here. We need the math, obviously. Keith Smith has the Nuggets as 1.4 million under the tax, 8.7 million under the first apron, 19.5 million under the second apron. They can, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, is KCP going to go for under 19 and a half? I don't know.
Well, what did he just turn down?
15. So I don't know. It'll be really, really interesting to see kind of how they go about, trying to make all of this work. Cause they, the other guy they can get rid of is Zeke Naji, right? Like if you can find a taker for Zeke, you can do that. Like maybe you'd have to attach Strother to do that. Right. But the only team that I think would really be able to do that is the Pistons. So the Pistons would have to like Strother to be able to do that. So, I don't know. They have some options. We'll see what they do. We will see what they end up doing here. I would look. I think KCP is going to get probably close to like 20 to 25 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like the Magic have that kind of money to be able to throw at him per year. Like if I was the Magic, I'd try to throw like 250 at KCP, like right around. I forget what their exact number is that they can do in terms of cap space, but like something along those lines.
Yep. No, it'll be interesting for Denver, how they build that thing out, how they, like I say, along the mark, like they're going to have to get the Derrick Jones Jr. deal. They're gonna have to hit on one of these guys and they're going to that guy's gonna have to come in and play real minutes. So
it feels like that's what their route is going to have to be. They're going to have to hit on, somebody like in a really substantial way to be able to make this like totally work. Okay. So now we're just waiting for, who is it? 50.
I believe it's Indiana again. So I'm kind of surprised that,
could be trying to move it.
Yeah.
I would think like very possible. They're trying to move this thing. And then who is it? 51 after, because Phoenix moved this to somebody. Phoenix moved this in the Oso deal. Could be is it Oklahoma City after Oklahoma City got the Portland pick?
Oso went 40 and that was Portland. Yes.
Could be Achu is telling us in the comments the Knicks at 51. That would also maybe make sense.
Yeah, right. Remember that they were back on the clock. I remember somebody saying they're back up at 51 and 56, I think is what somebody said. So the Nuggets won't make another pick here. So I think we have Indiana, Knicks at 51. I don't know, 52. The OKC had moved that one. Detroit was.
That's the one I was thinking of, I think, for what it's worth. 52.
53, I think, should be Minnesota because that's the Detroit move. Boston at 54, Lakers 55, Knicks again at 56, Memphis at 57, and then Dallas finishes us off right now at 58.
Okay, we're closing in. Shams is restricted, according to my Twitter account right now. Shout out to Shams. He's tweeting too much. Shams is getting the info out to the people way too much, man. Shout out Shams. Shout out to Shams. Just out here killing it. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why we've stopped. Shams has had his account restricted, so we can't actually know.
That's what his account says?
Yeah, I was looking at it. It said restricted, but we'll see if it's because of suspicious activity. I think it was. The NBA got to him. The NBA is out here trying to shut us down.
I can see it now, but it's his last one was 10 minutes ago.
Where are we at? Let's see here. We need something to come through here.
So all I'm going to say is I'm seeing, I'll save it. Because I'm seeing people.
Real GM is saying Enrique Freeman at 50 to the Pacers.
I saw somebody else tweeting about that fit with the Pacers. But I wanted to, I didn't want to go for it.
Yeah, that would track. Let's talk about Enrique Freeman as if he's going to the Pacers. Um, that works for me. Enrique Freeman, like really amazing story. First and foremost, like that's the biggest thing to take away from Enrique Freeman. Has 6 siblings and went to high school and was like a solid all conference player as a senior, like averaged 12 points and 10 rebounds. He was also the president of his high school student body, and went to Akron on an academic scholarship, right? Like he was not a basketball player at Akron initially, and just decided to walk on to the basketball team. Made the team, played 7 games as a walk-on freshman, and then broke out as a sophomore and made the all-defense team in the MAC and led the conference in blocks. As a third-year player, 13 and 11, won the league's Defensive Player of the Year award. Fourth-year player, I think he led them to the NCAA tournament. Again, all defense. Again, like Defensive Player of the Year. And then this year, they went back to the NCAA tournament again, MAC tournament MVP, MAC Player of the Year. Just like this incredible story. And seriously, like every time you meet somebody that talks to you about Enrique Freeman, they just like glow about how incredible this dude is as a human being. Incredible help defender, great rebounder. Like I'm not sure there was a better rebounder across college basketball the last 3 seasons. Led the country in defensive rebounding rate at 33.1%, 3.6 offensive rebounds as well. Second and third efforts constantly. Great in ball screen coverages, great help defender. Offensively, he was just a big though. Like he's a post-up player.
Yeah.
To me, like the route is going to have to be a Paul Millsap style of development, where Paul Millsap, at Louisiana Tech, and he was a little bit ahead in terms of where his perimeter game was. But, Paul Millsap really needed to like kind of, grow his game and go from being like a real play, like a real post player, into becoming a perimeter player. And eventually, like by the time he was a 30-year-old or 28-year-old, even, he was like amazing across this board and like in this respect. So that's the route that Enrique Freeman's going to have to take. But Enrique is this guy that like can really, really, really be like a solid defensive player, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the defensive aspect of his game. The rebounding, I'm glad you brought it up, is just insane. It's really how he rounds out the offense, because you said it. He kind of turned everything into a post up. Like even some of his drives, he turned into a post up. I'm not sure how that translates to the NBA. I just would rather him, drive in straight lines and those type of things and just really get downhill. The Creighton game in the tournament, he shot 8 threes. He went 3 of 8 in that game. So, he didn't have a lot of 3-point attempts in his career, 0-0, 3-3, and then he took 54 this year, but he did make them 37%, 73% from the free throw line. So if that floor spacing is something he's able to add, he gets real interesting offensively to go along with all of the defensive stuff that you mentioned. It's just like you said, kind of transforming his game into what matches an NBA style, and that's going to actually be useful for an NBA team. But just incredible story, and as you highlighted, insane intel on just who he is as a kid. And yeah, Shams got a tweet in apparently between getting locked, says my account keeps getting locked. So
so I'm kind of wondering if this has to do with the debate that's forthcoming. Like I wonder if they're trying to like be cognizant of like news reporters in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying this like conspiratorially, like they're trying to like hold things down or anything, and maybe they're like trying to be careful about it in some, I don't know. I'm just like kind of guessing here on that. I think we have number 51 as well. I think we've got Melvin Ajinca going 51, but he is actually going to Dallas, it would seem, according to our guy Keith Smith, who's out here he's fighting the good fight for us, baby.
Keith holding it down. Let's go.
Keith is out here giving us the news here. So Melvin Ajinca is your guy. Let's talk about Melvin Ajinca. You give me the scout while I try and figure out what in the world is going on.
So yeah, if this looks like maybe the Mavs moved up from 58 to 51, we'll try to get clarification on that. My thing with him is I think this is your ultimate 3-and-D archetype and role. You know exactly who he is. You can tell from the start that he knows who he is as a player, which I value, especially in the second round. Lefty, great frame, good build, already pretty filled out at 19 years old. He's just turned 19 on yesterday. I turned 20 yesterday.
Turned
Excuse
20,
me. Yeah, turned 20 yesterday. So happy birthday again to Melvin. Knockdown, catch and shoot attempts, but some potential for movement, off-screen shot making. It is a little bit, I think he has to hone in his fundamentals on his shot. Like he has to get a little tighter with those things. I don't know how much he does with the ball in his hands and all of those type of things. And then defensively, I think he's extremely active. Okay. Yeah, defensively, he'll get after it. Energy. I think he can be a quality defender when he's engaged. I think he just has to round out some of those things. And so I like the idea of the 3-and-D archetype with Ajinca. He just has to realize it. I think for Dallas, this makes a ton of sense. I love this for Dallas to take a swing on this here at 51.
I do agree with Dallas doing this. My issue with Ajinca is like, doesn't seem particularly comfortable handling the ball.
Yeah, sure.
Really, like if he puts the ball on the ground, like things are happening, man. I think things might be there's going to be some sort of activity, like left hand dominant to a fault. Like I don't know if I saw him attack with his right hand all that often. One dribble guy, really wide looping driving lanes. If he takes more than that, just did not seem comfortable with his right hand, even as a finisher. I didn't think. Throws up a ton of wild lefty shots, and then also like doesn't pass well. I felt like, has never been much of a passer, really. Averaged under an assist per game in each of his 2 pro seasons. And like most of it is just like, missing reads a lot of the time. So I don't want to sit here and say that like I hate this pick. I think it's completely reasonable, especially if they're going to stash him in San Quentin for a year where he might get to play with Nolan Traore again. That'd be amazing getting to see him play with Traore. But yeah, no, this would track to me. This is an interesting pick. Do we have another pick here? We might have another pick. Let's see.
I don't know who. Quinten Post.
Your guy, another one of your guys. Let's do this thing, Bryce. Quinten Post, give us the take on Quinten Post.
I don't think this is a good thing. Like, I don't think that all of my guys are going here in the 50s. I don't know how I should feel about that. Stretch big with good size. I don't think he's completely non-mobile. I think he can make the movements that are necessary. He's a very much older prospect. He's 24 years old.
Bryce. by NBA standards, like
just much older prospect. I think it's crazy size with the ability to stretch the floor. So I think, only attempted 75 3-point attempts through his first 3 years of college, but over 40% the last 2 seasons. Good screen setter. I think he gives effort in those combined with his size. Not, maybe buy into the passing a little bit if he can do that out of DHOs, pick and pops, that type of stuff. Defensively, definitely not, I know you kind of, with the movement ability, he's not going to be an anchor of your defense or anything like that, but maybe he can just space the floor and then play and drop coverage and just be really big. I'm just interested in a guy at his size that can shoot the way that he does.
So Keith says that Quinten Post is eventually going to land with Portland, it would seem. I'm guessing this is just like a 2-way flyer on a big who can shoot kind of thing when they already have Duop Reith, but like I'm a little bit confused. That's Keith saying it's going to Portland. We will see how that goes. I like Quinten Post, dribble pass, shoot bigs, baby. That's where it's all about. Yep. Give me dribble pass, shoot bigs. Most importantly though, Bryce, most importantly here, we've got an important update.
No, we don't.
We've got an important update. Cam Spencer is going 53 to Memphis. I just want to be clear here. So Memphis is probably my ideal spot for Cam Spencer because there is no place that will embrace his crazy competitiveness quite like Memphis. He is like so professional and has incredible attention to detail and everything. But he is like a crazy competitor, which we talked about in the film room that I recorded with him. He's like pretty open about it, but is also like a normal human being. So why do I like Cam Spencer so much? It really does have to do in large part with the fact that I completely buy him just as that like competitor who's going to get 100% out of whatever he can bring. But more than that, like he has a case as like the best shooter in this draft class. Made 44% of his threes while attempting more than 5 per game over the last 2 years. Most of his threes come off of movement in some way, shape, or form. 37.7% of his shots off of screens this season from 3. Made them off of a ton of like intricate actions that they ran for Jordan Hawkins the season before. 42.7% from 3 out of spot up situations, 54.1% from 3 out of transition situations. Can do a little bit more than that though. Can run ball screens, can attack closeouts when necessary, pass as well. He's very unselfish. 3.6 assists versus 0.9 turnovers per game. So I had like a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. Just a really sharp player. Defensively, look, I don't know if he can guard in the NBA. Like, I'm just going to say it. I have no idea if he can guard in the NBA, but I know he wants to. I know he has really disruptive hands, great hand-eye coordination, and we'll see what, this kind of looks like.
So I just saw something about Quinten Post to the Thunder. Yeah, I just saw it again.
Great. That makes more sense than the Blazers. So that works better for me. Yeah, that makes more sense than the Thunder or than the Blazers for me on him. Yeah, look, you're not quite as high on Cam Spencer as I am, and that's okay. And look, like I'm high on Cam Spencer, but like I'm not like crazy high on Cam. Like I think he's.
Where did he get picked? What number did he end up? 53?
53, and I had him at 39. Right,
yeah,
like I have a second round grade on Cam Spencer, to be clear.
I had him at 53, so cool.
Yep. So best players remaining on my board now: Trey Alexander 44, PJ Hall 45. Those are my only 2 top 50 players left. That's actually pretty wild. I don't know if I've ever only had 2 top 50 guys not get picked. Very interested in what. So our guy Jake Fisher, same post is going to Golden State apparently. I don't know. What is that? What's the Woj tweet? Like, good Lord. we have no idea. There's always one where we have no idea like where a player is going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me try to see if we can. The Mavericks got Ajinca at 51.
Mavs get Ajinca 51.
Oh, Freeman
52 to someone.
Freeman was 50. Enrique Freeman was 50 to the Pacers. Ajinca 51 to the Mavericks. Post to somebody at 52. And then the Grizzlies get Cam Spencer at 53.
I believe that is correct. That's where we stand on this thing.
Huh.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
hey, here's another guy
after we finish this, I'm gonna have to sort through all of these trades and figure out who went where.
Yeah,
this is gonna be like my life for 4 hours over the course of the next like little while here.
Celtics make a pick, and this is a guy we've talked about recently, Sam, Anton Watson.
How about that? Okay, I like this. This is a good pick. Anton's kind of my guy, I guess. So should I take this one?
You got it.
Okay, so Anton Watson, I thought, was one of the few players in college basketball this season that was switchable 1 through 5. And I really quite like the fact that he is 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, dealt well with wings and forwards, very versatile on defense. Like the WCC does not do like all defense honors for whatever reason, but he would have made it the last 2 or 3 years easily. Navigates screens really well for his size, really good fluid hips. I thought he was one of the few players in college basketball that like really dealt well with all positions. Very disruptive hands, great hand-eye coordination, uses his length well. 1.5 steals, 0.7 blocks per game. Offensively, 73.4% at the basket. Basically all of that came out of cuts or in transition. and then made 2.6 assists per game, always always positive assist turnover ratio. The big thing is the shot here. Like, can he shoot? I have no idea. Made 41.2% from three. I would bet that's why Boston is betting on this. But almost all of those came directly off the catch, like no movement whatsoever, and took like under 2 attempts per game. But he was one of my sneaky favorites in this class. Do I have Anton Watson ahead of Dylan Jones? I do, personally. I would rather do that, but I am a fan of Anton Watson.
Yeah, no, we talked about it. I said, I like this profile other than the shot. And if you can figure that out, I think this is a great get. Real quick. So Fisher had the Warriors traded 52 pick for Lindy Waters. OKC traded it to Portland. Then Golden State bought it back a couple hours later because the second round is the second round, baby. That is verbatim from a Jake Fisher tweet. So I believe that Quinten Post is in Golden State. And then we also have pick 55 for the Lakers that has been, according to Jake Fisher, confirmed.
Yeah. So Bronny James is going 55 for the most obvious selection. This very clearly was engineered by Rich Paul the whole way. We talked about this throughout the year, that it was just abundantly obvious that Rich Paul was trying to get Bronny down to 55. And I like the way you handle this pre-draft process, where you're very public about it, everything like that. It's just very clearly the way that you're trying to get him to filter down the board. Unless you're like, you say, I'm not taking a two-way contract. That's how you do it. You say, hey, I'm not taking a two-way. Great. We're not going to take you then, because he's nowhere near anything other than a two-way in this class. So what is my eval on Bronny James? I ranked Bronny James at 72 this year. Strong physical frame, 6'1.5", 6'7" wingspan, 210 pounds. Looks like a free safety on the basketball court. Strong and physical, can withstand contact from guards and bigs. Good quickness, translates best on defense right now, fights at the point of attack. Good physical tools to be able to deal with that. I think he knows where to be on defense as well. Sharp scramble reads from time to time, definitely makes second and third efforts. Offensively, the hope is that he knocks down shots from the perimeter. He did make 27% from three this season, so that's not good. But in high school, it was much better. Made 39.1% of his catch and shoot threes over his final high school and AAU seasons. I also think he shows some passing ability in transition. Here's the problem. Bronny is 6'1" for the 3-and-D role that he projects into in today's NBA. Players like Avery Bradley have done it before. We just loved Jamal Shead, right? As a, all defense guy, only defense guy, not all defense guy by NBA standards, but, defense only right now guy. But I think people like kind of overestimate how good Bronny is on that end right now. He's like a good, solid college defender right now that like is probably above average. Guys like Avery Bradley, guys like Jamal Shead, for instance, they are like the truly, truly freaking elite guys on that end, right? Like they are the unbelievable defensive basketball players that you will find across college basketball that like disrupt everything by their sheer presence. My big issue though is that he's not a great ball handler. He's 6'1" and just like really struggles to like create separation, I feel like. And I'm just I'm intrigued to see where this goes. He's obviously going to get every chance, I would think, like for the next couple of years. But like I don't think he can offense at an NBA level right now, really, in any way, shape, or form, is my problem.
Yeah, I mean, listen, whenever we talked about Bronny and staying, transferring, going pro, whatever, people would push back. Like, isn't the best development for him in the G League? I guess we're going to find out, because I think that's where he's going to play. And can he develop the jumper? Can he become even better defensively? Can he hone some of those ball handling skills to get to that level? And we've talked about this. We think that Bronny has a path to being a real NBA player on his own merits. We have said that, not necessarily maybe in this draft, but big picture, there is a path to that happening, and we'll see if the G League is the right path for that, as opposed to staying in college for another year and doing it there. So I think he has to really shoot it at a very high level for someone his size, who's not a true on-ball guy. And then probably with his size, he can be a little bit, guard, a couple positions. get that level of defense that you were talking about, where it's not just good, he's solid. He has to be great to elite for someone his size on the defensive end.
The pathway here is the pathway that Devin Carter took, going from South Carolina to 2 years at Providence and like really emerging into a guy that was one of our favorites in this draft class, to be sure. But Devin did it. He is that kind of level. He is not quite as twitchy as Devin is, but he's pretty close. He's strong. He has all sorts of length. He's really going to have to be kind of like a Devin Carter-y kind of player, but Devin got a lot of time and a lot of reps to be able to develop his game. I hope that Bronny gets a chance to be able to do that as well. We'll see how it goes. To me, this is like a multi-year G League process. And, again, really, solid on defense, real athlete, like very real NBA caliber athlete at 6'1.5" with length and, strength, intersection of power and, that explosiveness is real. But again, like this is a process, and it's going to take a lot of time, I think, for him to be able to play in an NBA game, like at a reasonable level.
All right. We missed a pick somewhere.
I'm sure we missed a pick.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, we skipped.
We talked about Bronny for a while.
No, like they missed a pick. So like all of a sudden we get a notification from Woj and it says Minnesota has traded number 57 Toronto. We need number 56.
Okay, so we need number 56 here. Come on, where's Shams and Jake? Jake, where are we at? We need Jake to come through here. Let's see. Do we have an update? Minnesota has 57. We don't know who has 56.
But Minnesota traded 57 to Toronto. That's all we have about these 3 picks left.
Interesting.
And I don't know if Dallas is still at 58 because they made the move up to 51 for Ajinca.
Yep. Let's see here. Do we have any updates anywhere?
These guys must all got a lock. There's nothing since the Bronny James from any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's just like completely crazy on some level. Let's see here. For what it's worth, like, I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world that Bronny got drafted. Like, I have probably 15 guys ahead of him or whatever, but like I have Bronny ahead of I think I have Bronny ahead of like Trenton Flowers or whatever. So it's whatever. Okay, so people in the chat are saying Kevin McCullar at 56.
Who
knows? Let's see here. Let's just Twitter search Kevin McCullar and see if we got it.
This says the Suns.
New York Knicks had this pick.
That's what I thought too.
So maybe he got traded to the Suns, right? Like, it's very possible he got traded to the Suns. Feels like a possible outcome here. Where are we at here? Just an absolute struggle here.
It sounds like it's McCullar. I don't know if it's to Phoenix or New York.
Yeah, so tell us about Kevin McCullar while I try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so, a guy that, has entered the draft a few times, older prospect. He is already 23 years old, won't turn 24 till next March. I'm, again, a guy that you're hoping is this 3-and-D wing. I don't know how much I buy the three-point shooting ability. That's the huge part of this equation with him. He put up crazy scoring numbers this last year playing through injuries, and I do think the injuries are a part of this with McCullar as well. I don't think the role, if you go watch Kansas games from this last season, I don't think that's the role that you're going to see from Kevin McCullar in the NBA. They were running like post-ups for him and stuff like that. To me, he's got to be a good off-ball cutter, ball mover, passer, slasher, get out in transition, and then he's got to knock down corner threes, and that's kind of always been the question with him that he hasn't necessarily been able to answer. This was his best year shooting from three, and it was 33% on 4.5 attempts. So good volume there Free throw percentage uptick this season as well. I think he rebounds well. Again, he passes well. And then defensively is where if he finds the shot, he really provides some value. I think he has some of the best hands in terms of just active and accurate and being disruptive. I think that's where he's really good. I don't know that he's as elite of a prospect defensively as some give him in terms of just like on the ball, stay in front, those type of things. But I think he will be a disruptive defender in the NBA. So did we get clarification on where he is going yet or no?
Not to my knowledge. My issue has always been, look, like I'm not going to sit here and tell you like I know the medical reports that NBA teams had or anything, but I cannot imagine that his medical was clean. I just can't, point blank, because he's never played a full season without getting hurt, it feels like. And this year he didn't really have a pre-draft process because he was hurt. He didn't really go and work out for many teams. This is why I ended up projecting him as going undrafted. I think I was the only person that projected this, that he was going undrafted. And he ends up 55 on my board, gets picked 50, 56 or 57, it feels like. I'm
pretty sure he went 56. I just don't know who he's going, where it's at. It seems like it's the Suns or the Knicks. This pick was originally Denver. I assume that it became the Suns with the Deron Holmes move up trade. But then somewhere along the lines, I felt like the Knicks had 56. So it's Suns or the Knicks with Kevin McCullar.
I'm guessing it's the Knicks because, I'm guessing it's the Knicks. There was a deal in there for the who moved up, who moved down. I forget. I'm guessing it's the Knicks. That's my take. Because remember, we were talking earlier about you mentioned earlier that the Knicks had 51 and 56. So I'm guessing that it's 56.
So it looks like the Knicks. Yeah. I think it's the Knicks.
Okay. So this is the order of operations. The Suns got 56 in the trade for Denver to acquire Deron Holmes. Then they moved up with 51 and 56, I believe, to get Oso. Is that right?
Okay.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Keith Smith, lock Twitter. They're just keeping us down, Keith. It's a problem, man. Unbelievable. Just keeping the newsbreakers down.
Could you imagine if this would have happened during the first round?
Oh, it would have been hysterical.
Oh, they did it to. Oh, that's chaos. They. What? Wow.
Yeah, you're lost. We need to just hope that this in some way, shape, or form works. I'm fascinated to see what Vegas looks like with Bronny James for Summer League, to be honest. I think it could be somewhat interesting, at least. Okay, 50. What are we up to? We're up to some pick in the 50s, right?
57.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, 57.
We're up to 57. So that's the Raptors, it would seem.
Yeah, the Raptors traded. Minnesota, I think, had this. Minnesota had this and traded 57 to Toronto.
Okay, cool. And we don't know who's picked. So look, just to kind of refresh who I've got left on my board here. Only two top 50 guys remaining, Trey Alexander and PJ Hall. Both guys that I thought, didn't necessarily need to get drafted. I'll be surprised if Trey Alexander goes undrafted, but once we get into this range at 44 and 45, anything can kind of happen. I think it's pretty reasonable. Jalen Bridges at 52, Keyshawn Johnson at 51, and then Isaiah Crawford at 56 and Justin Edwards at 58. Those are really my last, guys that I had in the top 58 even.
Yeah, so. Same. Literally, those are Edwards, Johnson, Bridges, Hall, Crawford, Trey Alexander would round out my top 58 as well.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, look, this thing ended up being a little bit, I don't want to say it's definitely not chalky, right? But it did feel a little bit, I guess it feels a little bit chalky, doesn't it to you?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The lowest player ranked on my board that's been selected so far is at 69. So I feel like, you end up with like it could be 58 of the players drafted in my top 69. Like there just hasn't been anything that's completely shocked me in terms of way high or way low. So,
yeah, like right now, Bronny is my lowest player drafted at 72. If trying to think guys that like might get picked, like if Chomche got picked, that would be low. I have Chomche at 82. Trenton Flowers 73, like maybe he gets picked. Maybe there's like a stash, like a Quinn Ellis or something like that. But
sure.
yeah, my current read is that this is going to be it's a little chalky right now.
Jake just tweeted 4 seconds ago, and it looks like Chomche is going to be the pick there.
Okay, so Ulrich Chomche. I believe it's Chomche. Yeah. Jake says Toronto is trying to land NBA Africa Academy product Ulrich Chomche. So Chomche like had a lot of hype early in the year, and then the problem was that people saw him play at Hoop Summit, and he was just not. He was many years away. Let's go with from seeming like he'd be able to play on an NBA court. I was honestly a little bit questionable as to whether or not he would be a successful high major player next year. Just to be completely transparent. I thought that like if you put him like in the A10, like he'd probably be pretty successful next year. But like he is like a ways away from being able to play in the NBA. And the problem is that he has tools, but like people think he can shoot and he can't really shoot. People think that like he has good defensive tools and he just doesn't really know what to do defensively. Like he was just like a little like at the speed that the Hoop Summit is played at. It's just going to take some time. Like it's a real. This is going to take a minute for Chomche if it ever comes to fruition.
Yeah, I'm with you. Very raw. I put it in my notes here. Like out of all the prospects I felt like we would talk about, he's the one I was able to get the least amount of film on to evaluate. So I have some notes, but it's just not one that I'm super comfortable in terms of my accuracy. But the offensive game is really raw. Good looking athlete in terms of size and strength. He did some things in terms of getting downhill. The shooting form looked okay, but none of it is realized at all. And then defensively, I thought he had some really impactful defensive plays. I thought sometimes the energy intensity level was really good. At other times, not so much. I don't know if the awareness was always there. So yeah, just to piggyback, I think the big thing is just very raw prospect, which I guess at 57, you are willing to bet on the tools and all of that and the development. And I believe the second round has completed with 58 to the Knicks and Ariel Hukporti.
A guy that I like. Yeah. Like I'm an Ariel Hukporti like fan in general. Like I think that he is somebody that's worth a two-way. Like Chomche, I had an Exhibit 10 grade on. Like I just don't like I'm not really interested in the development process for him. But I think Ariel Hukporti is a guy that like can really come in and be an impactful kind of guy maybe down the road. He is a direct, like rim to rim player who doesn't have a ton of offensive skill, but has a lot of real like physical strength and has like a lot of power to his game. And also is like an elite level rim protector. He was, for my money, like one of the absolute best rim protectors in the NBL this year, despite being like draft eligible at 22 years old. Hukporti is like a really interesting prospect to me. I ended up with him as a top I think I ended up with him at like 58 or so, 57, something like that, 59. So yeah, it's completely reasonable pick by the Knicks, like as a flyer to take.
Yeah, I have him at 61. And so yeah, like just this bigger rim running, rim to rim protecting, big. I have some questions about the hands in terms of like how if Is he going to catch everything and be able to finish everything in regards to that? I like the drop coverage in general, does a good job playing both and all of that. Does he round out the offensive game in any other way? Probably not, but we talked about this earlier with, even if he can just give you some minutes, with N'Faly Dante, when somebody had asked about him, is Hukporti somebody that can come in and just give you some minutes off the bench with high energy, a little bit of rim protection, a little bit of lob threat?
So, and we've already got my two top 50 guys that didn't get picked were Trey Alexander and PJ Hall, both going to Denver on 2 ways.
Okay.
Really, really interesting. So Harrison Wind is reporting this, and he says that Denver had a first round grade on PJ Hall, which is awesome. Good for Denver. Man, they do things differently over there. I love it. And then Trey Alexander is also going to be on a 2-way to them. Like, these are the kind of flyers Denver is going to have to take and try and figure it out, right? These are the kind of things that you're going to have to hope for at the end of the day. You're going to have to hope that you get a PJ Hall. You have to hope that Deron Holmes hits. You're going to have to hope that, you get Trey Alexander and he's able to, maybe by his second year, take some minutes, right? So, these are great signings to me. If you can get Denver ends up with Deron Holmes, Trey Alexander and PJ Hall, that's a good draft night to me for them, even if they didn't have to take 2 of them. And they probably got extra draft picks too, I would guess. Or no. That's a lie. They spent way too many draft picks to get off of Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So those 2 guys, who else interested? I mean, for me, it's Justin Edwards, Keyshawn Johnson, Jalen Bridges, Isaiah Crawford. Those are the big names.
So Keyshawn Johnson, I'm a little bit surprised didn't get picked. Another guy that interviewed incredibly well around the league. People really connect with his story. People really like him as a human being. Athlete, 6'7", can defend at a high level. Jalen Bridges, I'm surprised didn't get picked as well. Another high character kid, potential 3-and-D player. I wonder if he maybe tried to go undrafted purposely by the end of it in order to maybe pick out his spot. Let's see here. Isaiah Crawford. Look, I know Isaiah Crawford was a very popular name for the draft Twitter community. There was just a very minimal chance he was going to get picked. The knees, he's gone through 2 ACLs. I just didn't find it all that likely. Say we talked about Dante earlier, it's kind of the same deal with McCullar. Any of these guys that have the injury stuff, I'm just always, people get hyped up about them, and it's, this is how we end up, getting ready for sadness on draft night, it feels like.
Yep. No, so some other names that get into guys that I thought were probably not going to get drafted: Trenton Flowers, Reese Beekman. I talked about Zion Pullen recently, Emmanuel Miller, Quinn Ellis, Naquan Tomlin, and N'Faly Dante. Those are some of the names that are maybe a little bit more interesting to me than, a boatload of other names as well.
Yep. No, that feels right. In total here, all of outside of 48 of my top 50 get picked. And then I missed on Keyshawn Johnson. That's 1. Jalen Bridges 2, Crawford 3, Edwards 4. So what, 52 of my 58 top 58 get picked, I guess. And then 59 and 60 also get picked. So seems like teams went pretty chalky this year, I would say. That's what it feels like.
I'm similar there. And I was those undrafted free agents, those 2 guys were in my top 58 actually, and they quickly, were off. Those seems like they screamed, we want to go to Denver and not be second round picks to me. So
I would guess so. And I'll probably try to reach out to their agents and kind of figure out if that was the case before I kind of write through this thing. I mean, any strong takes on the second round here now that we're done?
No, that was madness. That was, honestly, I don't know how you felt. That was harder to keep track of than the first round for sure. Talking about the prospects wasn't an issue. I felt I knew you would be prepared. I felt more than prepared to talk about each of these guys that were taken. So that was good. It was just the chaos of where are they going, where are they not, and whatever happened with X or Twitter or whatever during it didn't help the case there. But yeah, it was chaotic. It was a lot. but I had a blast doing it.
So Shams is saying as well for PJ Hall, had a lot of second round interest, but actually decided to go undrafted and choose Denver, which makes sense because Denver, has some front court potential openings if they decide not to retain DeAndre Jordan. All of this kind of makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I'm interested where these other guys end up. Keyshawn Johnson is an undrafted free agent, two-way. Jalen Bridges, those two guys especially are really interesting to me. Where they'll end up. Those would be the two biggest names I'll probably searching for to see when they land somewhere.
Yeah, so the big winners for me second round were, I would say, Utah getting Filipowski is like, I have a top 20 grade on him. That's an easy one. Tyler Kolek, another great pick there.
What do you think about the Pacers with Furphy and Tristen Newton? Those seem like decent picks for them.
Yeah, I like the value on both of those for sure. And I need to
I guess I should mention him.
Yeah, and I need to get a kind of better accounting of who's going where a little bit with those guys. But I do think that at the end of the day, Furphy and Tristen is probably like a pretty strong combination.
Yeah. So those guys, let's see who else. Clippers with Cam Christie at 46. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, good get. So, all right. I mean, this is where we're at, and I think you and I will probably do like a little bit more of a fuller accounting of this.
Yeah.
And like the draft as a whole, maybe on like Sunday or so. Yeah. Maybe I'll have someone else come on too and do like a bit more of a fuller accounting of the craziness, that will occur for free agency as well. Maybe I'll have someone else come on and do like a draft breakdown too. It's possible. We'll see what's going on. You have some things going on next couple of days, Bryce. It's going to be great.
So no, that's what I realized. I need to get this. I have it in order, like my players and what team and what pick it was. I got to order this by team now. Wizards got these three guys, or whatever, because I'm like scrambling, trying to read through and remember all of that. So yeah, I need to take a breath here and get all of it organized to where it's easily digestible for me to really figure out how I like things. But I will do that quickly once we are done recording. It's hard to do that while we're live here, but yeah.
It's pretty great, isn't it?
It is. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah.
And now it's over. And now we have to just start scouting 2025.
On to 2025. You know what I will have tomorrow up on The Athletic, folks? I will have a 2025 mock draft. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to format it. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can responsibly format something like this. And do it like more in tiers and like not have like an exact number on players because it feels stupid to have a number on players this time of year. I don't know, man. We'll see. I might just have to order them at the end of the day. But yeah, this has been a great draft cycle. Bryce, congratulations on finishing your first draft cycle.
Yeah,
over here.
That my very first one. Like I've scouted players. This all, a few years ago was just Pistons players. Then I started to expand. This is the first year where I've gone full on. I have my big board, notes on every single one of these guys all the way through all these different mocks. And so it was a blast. It was a lot. I'm excited to do it again. Already started my 2025 stuff. And I'm just fortunate enough, Sam. I don't say this enough, and I definitely don't say it. Like, I can't thank you enough for giving me this opportunity to, join Game Theory and be a part of it, because it's been awesome.
It's the best. We have a great time with it. I had a great time with this draft class, but I'm much more excited for next year's draft class. Like, I'm excited to get back to watching high level, exciting, real upper end talent, like with Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper and those guys. So. It's going to be pretty great. Okay, Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what you've got coming.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter. I already have some things lined up to join some other podcasts, do some other breakdowns, stuff like that. I think Saturday morning, actually, I'll be with Keith Smith over on the Front Office Show. We're going to break it down. I'll be back with Sam, obviously, very soon to do some more of that. and free agency. I don't know exactly what our plan is, but I know we'll be talking about those things. So follow me on Twitter. You can find scouts, free agency breakdowns, all of this different stuff, wherever I put it, wherever podcasts I go on.
Yep, we will be back on Sunday at the very least. There's a chance I end up having to record one in the middle of that if something crazy happens free agency or trade wise. This has been a very fun year. It's been a very fun cycle at The Athletic. I have winners and losers of the first day already up. I had a second round mock draft that I think actually like did really bizarrely well.
That's tough. Like, that's not easy to do.
Kind of staggered right now. I'm like fairly staggered by how well that thing did potentially. I'm gonna have to really take a look at it. I will have team by team draft grades up tomorrow. I tend to be a little bit forgiving on those, so just like be ready for that on your end. If you see like not many like terrible grades, just be ready for that. We do have a few super chats to get through. Someone just said check the super chats. Shout out to let's see here. How many of these have I not read yet? Could you explain how trading cash works? Whose cash is it? And what does the receiving team do with it? It's just the owner's cash, like the team's cash.
No salary cap implications.
Yeah, no salary cap implications. Goes from one owner to the other. One team to the other. Gets thrown into the basketball pot some of the time, not all the time. Just depends. From Scow's Roar, is it just me or did Utah fall into an A+ draft? You'll be able to read that tomorrow on The Athletic, but yes, they're going to be my favorite draft. So there's no question there.
They got 3 players that were between 13 and 18 on my board with picks 10, 32, and 29. So if I want to believe in my board and my scouting, then I would say, yes, that is an A+ draft in terms of value.
Yep, I think that is correct. From Phantom TV, I'm convinced Sam Presti is more focused on building a good G League team than helping make the current roster better. We will see in free agency. I would imagine that, look, there's just not much. There are not many guys in this class that he was going to be able to draft that made an impact next year on this team. So, it's all about the future for them. They have a system. They go dribble, pass, shoot, and processing and positional size, and that's what they did here. We can agree with the Dylan Jones pick, disagree with it. I love the Ajay Mitchell pick today. Like that's an incredible draft pick. We'll see how that goes. And then finally,
like Topic is a guy that we think is very talented too. So like while we didn't love it for OKC, that's the player that's a good player. And how many open spots are there for the Thunder right now in turn, especially like you said, there's free agency. They just acquired Caruso. So I don't know. Is it bad to develop guys that are going to just continue to funnel into this roster as guys get priced out over the next few years? So I know there are some holes, but if they fill them in free agency, then this isn't a bad, path to take with the draft.
Totally. I think that's right. And look, they're probably going to try and fill them in trade at some point too.
Yeah.
Like they have so many picks to be able to play with, to be able to do this. So I'm interested. And then finally, LA Lake Show 24/7. Great show, guys. Love the content. Keep up the great work. Was referred by Trevor Lane and Keith Smith. Check you guys out. Shout out to Trevor and Keith, baby.
Yeah. No,
that's just great people.
Unbelievable.
Really good people.
Guys, take note. All of us in the content creation world, we don't have to battle each other. Like those guys are amazing and easily could have just been like, we don't know where to go. Just watch it on ESPN. No, that they shouted out. Keith tweeted out a link to our stream here. So like that's big time stuff from them. Appreciate them so much.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely fantastic stuff by them. And they're just the best. So yeah, that's all we got here. We will be back on Sunday, I guess. But until next time, we'll talk soon.